All right, y'all. Hold on. Hi. Mm-mm-mm. Making sure we good. Oh my goodness, somebody like I always. All right, y'all. Hold on. All right, we're in. We're in. Here. This thing is weird, but all right. Just doing some technical. Oh, all right, Billy's here. Okay, guys, we have, and we're gonna have a guest and everything. All right, y'all, what's up? Thank you guys for coming through. All right, so we're gonna get into the weekly wrap up. So before I see you, Billy, I see you. So I have a guest tonight to help me, not help me, like to have fun with on a Friday night. Yay, with the weekly wrap up. Um, He's a 20th century American boy who grew up working on rock shows and is appalled to what it's all come to. His name is Billy. I'm bringing him in. All right. Okay. Hey, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Huh? Why can I hear you? Hold on. Let me see. That might be on my end.
No, it's me.
Okay.
Operator error here.
I'm like, that might be on my end. Hold on. I'm just pulling up one more screen because this StreamYard is dumb. Like, because I set it to a custom destination, I'm not gonna be able to see people's comments on the StreamYard, which I guess everybody probably didn't need to know that, but um but I don't like that because I want to see the comments, so I have to pull it up again. All right, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Bet. Okay. Cool. All right. We're still good. Mic test 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, cool. All right, so before we get started, first of all, thank you for coming through. I know this is gonna be fun. I'm so excited because I couldn't wait to do it. I'm all smiles already. So
Thanks for having me. I got nothing better to do tonight. Thanks for having me.
no, yeah, no sweat at all. You want just why don't you tell people a little bit about you because you're not just an American boy who grew up on doing rock shows. You've done a lot, like you've done a lot. So why don't you give us a little something more?
Well, I barely got out of high school with my own skin. Okay, I was a terrible student. I failed civics in the 11th grade in the first semester because I saw right through all of it. This was 1972. Okay,
uh,
this is half a century ago. I started watching all this nonsense. Um, and just in a series of accidents, I got into show business and became a stage lighting director and designer, and
mm-hmm.
toured the world in America for 43 years.
That's hot.
And I don't like to name names
But name
for this.
some.
Listen to here's the thing. The way I figure it, most of the people I've ever worked with don't deserve to be associated with the likes of me.
Oh, stop, Bill.
Right, because of how the politics goes. Okay, it made my career hard. I got my own way a couple of times over principles, and I don't regret any of it. But along the way, look, man, I just wanted to have fun in America. That's what it was supposed to be to me.
Right.
We're to live our lives and enjoy ourselves and not hurt anybody. And then, it might be arguable whether I was contributing anything to the culture by doing lights on rock shows, but I saw countless thousands of people enjoy it and get their
Mm-hmm.
money's worth, so that it was good enough for me.
Right. Right.
Along the way, I saw deep corruptions in American culture and
Mm-hmm.
ethics and politics. I keep maintaining that the central crisis of our times is in the field of ethics, and I never stopped studying along the way. And what I'm watching today is about what I expected it all to come to a long, long time ago if things didn't change.
Right.
And
Right.
it's heartbreaking. It's crushing. I used to be furious about it, but now I'm getting older.
It's a shame because I mean it is heartbreaking. It is crushing. I mean, I think we have to stay furious, but I know what you mean when you say like it's exhausting too because it's like so many different angles that they they're like an empire can only be broken from within. Like that's so true. And but this has been a long they played the long game, whoever they are, right? Like the they play the long, it's like who's they, right? And you never know who's they, but you can see the blueprint. Once you see the blueprint, you can't unsee it. So somebody had to orchestrate something at some point, I feel like, so um
You know, the American mind has been not necessarily obsessed. I'm not uh, diagnostically qualified to use that word, but certainly fascinated with conspiracies ever since JFK,
mm,
to the point where, and this runs concurrent with certain streams of professional philosophy in America,
mhm,
skepticism about reality, things like that. All right. So ever since JFK, we've seen generations bred to the idea that nothing's true and nothing's real.
mhm.
Um, oh, geez, what were you talking? What were you saying just before
No,
I?
just like the orchestra, it just feels like somebody
Oh,
orchestrated a plan for what we're seeing today. Like,
what I was gonna say is that that those kinds of, and believe me, I'm not going to put down conspiracy theories. I've spent my time with a lot of them,
mhm,
but it's dawned on me in recent years that conspiracies are not necessary when you have similar trains of thought. And this runs to a guy named Antonio Gramsci.
mhm,
He talk about the long march of ideas through the institutions, government
mhm.
institutions, educational. You know all this, right?
I
Well,
I just learned all some of this.
mhm.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Once you get the basic idea, it's not very difficult to figure out and look at, especially if you grasp history at all, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Um, so we have all these ideas, the similar ideas running through the culture, and it's no surprise to me at all that people behave in the same way politically, in the same ways politically and ethically at the
mhm.
end of all of it, right?
Right, right. Yeah, and yeah, you bringing him up, Antonio Gramsci, as I pronounce things a little different because of English. Apparently, is my second language, even though I was born here. But now I'm realizing more and more, like I think it's my second language. Anyway,
He was
um,
Italian, and I'll tell you something. I'm told that I spoke conversational Italian as a toddler because we lived in North Africa, and there was an Italian family right next to us, and they had kids our age, and we used to
wow.
interpret between the two families. I don't remember a word of it.
Dang, can you imagine that? Like, man, you were all fluent, and now you don't remember none of it.
That's what my parents always said.
Dang, but you see how kids can learn so much. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was there is another is a there's a gentleman who I met on Twitter. His name is DuPont LaJoy. I'm gonna put his and I know I just murdered his last name, but he's a Frenchman from and he lives in London. But I'm gonna put his information. He has a Substack, so I'll put it on the description after the live. But he had sent me an essay talking about like the postmodern, basically the war on the culture and everything, and Marxism and fascism and everything. And so his essay really breaks down all of these thoughts, but it's not it's straightforward. It's not a 400-page thing. It was perfect for me because I'm not a reader. I know how that sounds, but like I'm more of a put in the audibles and clean the house, and I have a lot going on. So it was perfect because it was straight to the point. I just think life is just so busy right now. I like things like that. But yeah, and then when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, like you see it so clear now. But like when I was younger, I was caught up in ideology. I was just actually talking to my best friend about this today, like how I was getting caught up in the ideology, and all of it is like anything can be ideology once you make it like all of who you are. And so then of course, like everybody on my channel knows like I do like talk spiritually. So it's like idolatry. So then me being like, I'm a black woman, I'm a like, so I was taking myself almost as a god above God. So I knew that was the wrong thing for me to be doing. But when you're so deep in it, you don't even realize. So and then they put you in these communities, and then it makes you feel like you got the community on your back. Just absolutely insane. And I just, I'm just like, I'm glad I'm not like that anymore, because you don't see anything else but the idea of what you claim to be and what you claim to be fighting for. Like everything goes back to just that. It is a very miserable way of living. It is absolutely a miserable way of living.
Es-
So,
Especially when the idea is devoted to the herd and you're nothing.
right, right. And that's what it is. It's like you can't be an individual. You have to do it all the way how the herd is doing it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's where a lot of insecure people go, though. It is a
Hmm.
shame, because they're looking for something or some purpose, and I could see how it's easy for people to go there. So, like, people want to be accepted. It's not about, oh, they come from a bad family. Like, nah, they just want to be accepted. So then they start to give in a little bit, and then or they're lacking. It is, especially kids. When you're young, you don't know who you are, so it's easy to get the kids, and that's what we're seeing today. And they're getting them younger and younger, and then if you speak out against it, they call you the terrorist. So it's a shame.
I have seen the evolution of this. When I was young, it wasn't like that. We were well, I don't know if my family was especially special, but I don't think so. No, recalling all my friends, I recall very distinctive individual characters going way, way back, as far as I can recall.
Mm,
Uh, it's the power of ideas that has suffused the entire culture into collectivist ways of thought,
mm,
and it's a metaphysics. It's a way of looking at the world and conceiving reality. We're all in this together. Well, they've always meant that. When they said that, they meant it word for word
mhm,
as a matter of expressing what they think reality is like.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
It's hard to convey how deep this is.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel you. It is deep. We're all in
I
this.
sometimes feel that you have to be a certain age to ride this ride, and in order to see a time when it wasn't like this.
I could imagine that to be true. See, because for me, I feel like the 90s wasn't all the way like this, but I bet there was a time where it was even less like this. So, um, like definitely like after 9/11, it didn't feel like this. But then I would say like we should not have to have this kind of a crisis in order for people to leave all the distractions aside. So, but that was the last time it felt more like a country to me. But and after that, but of course a lot of things came out of 9/11. I mean, I could go on forever, but it's wild. And like you said, like, and then what you just said, that we're all in this together, like 2020. That's of course that's the year. Every time I go on live, or I'm doing like a chat with somebody, I was somehow 2020 was the year of vision. 2020, we're all in this together. Stay home inside together. We're in it together. And then they would show you Oprah and her big mansion in the house. We're all in the house together. And I'm what was they say? Alone together, all kinds. And I remember being like, what is this twilight zone that I'm living in? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you can't do that. This doesn't stop a pandemic. I'm like, this is crazy. That year for me was like, was it's like somebody took a big bat and just hit
The
me upside
power of
the
the mob.
head. Yeah. I mean, it was insane. It was just, I had never seen anything like it. And then how fast people just went right along with it and didn't even question. And my colleagues, like, of course, I had some colleagues who were like right with me, like, "Oh, this is weird." But everybody knows like I'm a nurse. But like other colleagues, like, "No, well, that's what they said. The CDC says," and I'm like, "What? We know that this is not infection control. Like, that's not how you control." Man, everything went out the window. Thing went out the window to be virtuous hero nurses. I'm like, man, that ain't me. I
Oh,
just,
they were awfully cute in the videos, though,
you know,
weren't they?
I was annoyed too. I look what yo, I'm telling you, I feel like I woke up in a warped reality, like making videos, and it was just it was crazy. It was the reset that
You know
we
what?
needed.
To me, I look at something like that, and I don't really concern myself with a lot of the details anymore because I understand the general drift of this. To me,
Mm-hmm.
I look at something like that and I say to myself, that's government funding your tax dollars at work, inflating um, absurdity in medical markets. If you take, I look at it this way: if you take an unlimited budget and blow it into a certain market, like shotguns, um, you're going to pay for every insolent, insincere person who's not
Yep.
really interested in the work.
Yep.
Does that make
Yep.
sense? And
Yeah.
corrupt the
Absolutely.
entire industry. You're going to
Absolutely.
get clowns instead of people who, if you have them working for discriminate enterprises that are interested in producing values in the market, they're not going to put up with clowns like that. They're going to hire people who know what they're doing, and they won't
Yep.
have time for rubbish like that. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, because
This is
so
what you
you
get when you have government intervening in markets, and you can do it to anything. This is just an example of medicine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. And you explained that so perfectly. Because actually, the first thing, it wasn't even the dancing nurses that was annoying me as much. I probably didn't know that there were that many videos of it. Later on, when I saw all these videos, I was like, this is just ridiculous that they were doing this. It was for me, the nurses that were like on the television, on in the magazines with like strap marks on their face because they
Oh
were at
Lord!
work for 12 hours and they wore N95, and then now it grooved in so much that they had a pressure also on their skin. I'm like, yo, what? I was like,
And you were
yeah.
were you working on the inside of that at the time?
So here's real quick. So when this thing happened, so I was already a registered nurse. I was LPN first, and then I transitioned over to registered nurse in 2018. So 2020 comes, this thing happens, right? From the door, once I heard 2 weeks is slow to spread, I was like, this is wrong. Yeah. Like, you know how some people would be like, well, it did take me like a month to figure out. No, the minute they said 2 weeks is slow to spread, I was already against it. But that's a little bit of my personality. Like, I'm kind of that person, like even at work. Well, not as much anymore because I know bureaucracy's taking over everything. But I used to be like that. Like, this doesn't make sense. I'll be the first person to say it. And I was like, and I was telling doctors. So at the time I was working a psych job. So I was telling doctors, I was like, how is it that they're saying 2 weeks is slow to spread? Like, we're gonna stay, and that's not gonna do anything for a virus. Like, eventually we'll get around each other and then we'll get sick. I was like, when we send kids back to school after summer break and they come home with runny noses, I was like, it's the same thing. And first the doctor was like, I mean, yeah, but 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, but they're gonna get sick anyway. And then he was like, I mean, yeah, well, maybe, but we're just trying to they're just trying to calm down the flow in the hospital.
That didn't even occur to me to ask the question, what's going to happen in the third week?
That's what I
That's how
said.
slow I can be sometimes. All right.
For the door, I said, if we start this, this Pandora's box, I was like, we are just gonna stay locked down forever. And so, so that doctor was, but everybody's so pretentious. Everybody wants to know. Well,
Right.
I know because I'm not here to impress anybody. I just thought it was the most craziest thing. And then I remember this other girl said to me, she was like, "Well, if they give a jab for it," she was, "There's certain words I don't use on YouTube because YouTube, me
Yeah,
quoted on
yeah.
YouTube, just But she's like, "So if they give a jab for it, are you gonna take it?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna take," because I knew from the door, like I was like, I'm not just gonna take something new just because y'all said I should. It doesn't work like this is my body. And she's like, you see, that's what I don't like about people. They complain about stuff, but when the solutions come, I said, oh, I'm not. No, she said people are afraid of things and they don't want the solution. I said, whoa, boss. I was like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid because I knew what I signed up to be as a nurse. And then you had nurses like, I'm not
Wait,
working
wait,
this.
wait, wait. Who says this is a solution to
Yeah,
begin
right.
with?
Right. Right.
Wait a minute.
Immediately, right? And this is how these nurses are who go with the science and the CDC guidance. I had already debunked the CDC though 3 years prior. So I definitely was like, no. So 2 weeks is slow to spread. I'm kind of going fast. Then I see all this stuff coming out of New York. I said, no, forget this. I'm gonna go get a job in New York. Some people thought I was crazy, but thank God the people who are closest to me, like my best friend, like she's so supportive. Like we get it. And so I was like, yo, I'm going to New York. So I tried to get with a travel company. I was supposed to go to New York and I was going to work with the homeless population. Remember, they shut down the hotels. They were going to put the homeless people in the hotels so they could, transition like from being COVID positive and then try to figure out where to put them, but they couldn't be in the streets and have COVID. Got all the way and hired, and then the day before I was supposed to leave, they called me and said, "We don't need you because we don't have enough people for this program." Mind you, yeah, of course you didn't, because you were putting them in nursing homes with old people. Later on, I would find that out. Then I went and I worked it. Now I will say this: when I went to upstate, like Pennsylvania, like up like little town in Pennsylvania, the nursing homes, something was going around that was taking people out. I'll say that, and I did see a lot. Um, but that wasn't even covered on television because it didn't look nice enough, like a ER with ventilators and all this stuff. So, but still, I was like, people need to get outside and open up their businesses because we need to focus on the geriatric population and not the young kid. The healthy can still go outside. Anyway, and what happened? 2 weeks turned into almost 3 months. And then in blue states, I don't even know, right? Like, is California still locked down? Who knows? Right?
Who
So,
knows? I don't know.
like, and then I remember this one girl was like, no, the kids shouldn't go to school because I don't want my kid getting sick. I said, when will it be safe to go back? She couldn't answer me. Make your brain work. Like, when is it safe? Germs? There's germs everywhere. So what are we fighting here?
What does it mean if you don't know the answer to that question?
Exactly.
Can you think
Exactly.
that through for me? Just give me a hint,
Like, well,
And you never hear one.
no. People just, and, of course, fast forward today. Now I know, like, people will give up liberty for safety,
Hmm.
but you're never safe. So I said it was the greatest thing they did. I said the tyrant always needs a pretext for his tyranny, and they told you
But,
there's sickness out
I
there.
keep looking at this in terms of history, though. We're not, I don't know, what, 4 lifetimes, perhaps 5 lifetimes removed from the American Revolution. And in my
Mm,
lifetime, there was a time when people weren't necessarily like this. I mean, they could be frightened and herded around. That was already starting by the middle of the 20th century.
right.
If you look back a half century before that to say when my grandfather was born, no, you didn't push Americans around. Really,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hate to give up a point like this, but some of the racial analysts are correct when they look at those periods of history. But it's not. It doesn't center exclusively on blacks. It's also Jews, Italians, and
Hmm.
you could divide it into into finer divisions. Catholics, okay, not to speak of homosexuals or any kind of groups that we all see around us all day long. America wasn't really projected that way, certainly not in terms of national policy. Yeah, I mean, you
Right.
had your tribal divisions. Okay, the Irish hated the Italians at some point in American history. American history is rife with episodes like that. But in general, those divisions weren't institutionalized the way they are now. Okay,
Hmm.
and these fears, to me, okay, which set
Hmm.
off that whole riff, are a a a consequence, a result of the institutionalization of those divisions. People talk about divisions in America a lot.
Hmm.
I fail to understand that they're always at their worst, and they do their worst work when they're enforced
Yeah.
by government and set out as policy by government.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it's worse now than ever before.
Yeah. It's true. It is. I mean, anytime the government steps in, is just
They're
the
good at
government can't
herding
fix
people
life.
around like the way you just pointed out. I mean, people just fell over for it right away.
Yeah. Like it. I could, but I'm gonna say this, and it's funny because I said this to my best friend, and this will start getting us into some of the topics, because to talk about for our weekly wrap up, right? This thought that I've had, and I've explained it to some people, but the person has to be very like listening to get it, like and not quick to just remark. There's an attack, right? All right, so we know, like me and you, we know, we see what's going on, and there is an attack to destroy the individual, like the free thinker, the individual who is confident and strong in themselves. And I said to my best friend, I was like, America is unique because like we formed, like, as back when America started, what the government was supposed to be, a system of the people for the people, like people, where people could run and be a part of the decision making in the land. So that was new. And I said, so I wonder, a lot of people probably were very jealous about that. And I'm simplifying it to an extreme level, the way I'm making it sound. But at some point something infiltrated. But I did say this. I said, you look on the news now, and we'll say conservatives, right? But it's really free thinkers, because you have people like Jimmy Dore. He wouldn't call himself a conservative, right? But he's a free thinker. People who get attacked, already marked, probably like with the Patriot Act, of like, like this is a threat, I would imagine, right? Because they speak out. And I said, white males, right? White heterosexual males are a problem for a government that wants to control people, because they know what liberty is. Like, you have this history of my grandfather fought in my great 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 grandfather fought in the Revolutionary War before. So you hear these stories, and it's not, and that's a great thing, right? Like, but, and of course there's black people, definitely, like, it's not just white males that are the patriots, right? No. um
No.
but
You wanna develop this for me? I think I know where this is going, at
yeah,
least
so
another
like, so
step further.
I'm getting there, right? So like,
Uh-huh.
so, but
Writing
y'all
this
just,
down.
I feel like you guys, nothing is absolute in what I'm saying, but y'all have this background of, like, maybe you sat around with your grandparents who was like, yes, and my great grandfather so and so, he cut down that tree and he made the bow, and then and we fought for liberty and the Constitution, and he wrote letters. You guys have a strong history of the birth of this country, and the and just the Constitution, stuff like that, right? Because I'm gonna tell you why. Like, what made me, it clicked in my head one day, because during 2020, when everybody was shutting down their businesses, Graham Allen, this was the first time I have ever seen Graham Allen on Facebook, because now I started looking at different pages on Facebook, because I was like, what the hell is going on here? He was going off on Facebook, and he was like, what are y'all doing shutting down your businesses? You need to reopen your business, because if the government can't come and tell you to shut down your business, you don't work for the government. They work for you. You elected them. That was the first time I ever really heard that, you know? Like, and to you,
I
it's
was
like
gonna
it's
say,
a,
as if this is news
Mm.
or what?
it's not, it's not a thought that you walk around before you hear it. You don't walk around thinking that way. You kind of just, if the government
Mind
says,
your own business.
but it's not just that though. Think about, like, if they come out with some sort of law or something, they say, like they did, you have to wear a mask. Well, the officials told us we have to wear masks, right? But that's not what that is. Like, we're supposed to tell them what we want, right? So it's like, you don't, like, I know I definitely didn't grow up feeling like that, with all this, knowing that kind of liberty kind of feeling. My parents are from Haiti, so they definitely weren't talking about American Revolution stuff, right? As I'm older now and I'm paying attention, and he lit that inside of me. So imagine you have a bunch of, you want to take over, right? And you want to tell people what to do without any pushback. You gotta slice off some of the army. And definitely, because right now the FBI does have it, like, when they describe a domestic terrorist, I mean, they straight say it's like a white heterosexual male who questions the government, like, what
They've been
is that,
saying that
right?
for a long time.
I'm sure they have it, but it's like they're getting really brazen with it too. They really are.
Uh,
People aren't
I
paying
mean, I was
attention.
listening to that in the '90s.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. They
You
might,
know,
but yeah, so that, I guess I could articulate it a little bit better. But if I wanted to get a bunch of people to do as I say. But I knew that there was a reason, there was an actual decree, a thing that could stop them from doing what I say. And then but I knew the group of people who know that too, you know, I would want to get rid of them first. I would want to make them villains. Men are villains right now, and white men right now, like I'm sure this, maybe this has been, I'm sure this was a long time I started paying attention. They are villains. It's easy to say that they are villains because they started the white patriarchy, the white supremacist. He was the slave owner. He was, so it makes it very easy for the mind to say like, oh yeah, he's white. He's a bad guy. You know what's he saying? What he said that I gotta open the. We're not supposed to listen to the government. Look at him. He's being a rebel. He's a bad guy. We have to. So you see what I'm saying? Like it's something that I just see. And of course, like I said, you got to get rid of the men, all men, because you have to make them feminine or do something to them. Because who's gonna fight? It it comes down to it.
Can I
So
can I point out? I thought this was going in a slightly different
so
direction when I first heard you say it, and all of that is a lot of
yeah.
that is right. It's not right. For instance, when you talk about white men, and there are certainly a lot of them, and I don't know how legitimately they can claim, say, revolutionary roots in their family. I can't. Okay,
Mm,
the first generation of my family in America happened about 1888. My
mhm,
great grandfather came from the Black Forest of Germany, arrived in America. Okay, my grandfather was the first one of us born here,
mhm,
so we
mhm,
just kind of made the most of it, I guess.
mhm,
My dad was born in the 30s, and by the time I was, cognitively able in the 50s and early 60s, 4 or 5 years old, he was beginning to explain what you were talking about to me.
mhm.
So, in that sense, yeah, it's kind of deeply rooted in me. It went all the way back that far. I don't know where dad got it. I really don't. That's
Well,
sad.
right. So here's the thing, and I'm not saying everybody could, bring their roots back to the Revolutionary War, but what I'm saying is like,
I was
yeah,
inculcated
right,
with I was, if you want to use that word, if anybody wants to use that word, even cynically, if they want, go right ahead. I happen to believe they were the right set of ideas. Okay, but yeah, I was stroked with that knowledge early.
right. That's what I'm saying. Yes. So it's something like it's just a feeling you have like, and I'll tell like I've been bringing it out now, of course, more of my family, like, 'cause my daddy's older now though, but when he had the mask on and stuff, and I'm like, Dad, what are you wearing it for? He's like, they said we're supposed to wear it, and I'm like, no, Dad, like you don't just do what the so like
Well, you
and
know what? Okay, can I steer this to where I thought this was going? I wrote
mhm,
down what you said. You said white males know what liberty is.
mhm, mhm.
Okay, and I take your point. I really do, but I instantly, for reasons of history, drew the contrast to black males. What, they
It's,
don't?
it's not. I don't want to say that they don't, but
But okay, can develop a line of thought here? Man, certainly at this point in the 21st century, after everything that education has come to, they could be expected to be skeptical of an idea like that,
right.
right? They could legitimately, um, you know, well, they how many of them have been taught that liberty was a false ideal from the very beginning, and that
Yeah.
certainly no black man has ever lived it in America,
Right, right. That's you right.
right?
Yes. Yes.
That might be a crucial difference in consciousness right there.
You're right.
Now, and I've run into these arguments before in discussions online, and had to point out, look, man, no matter how badly the ideal was treated in American history, it's still a good idea for
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. But here's the even better part though. I think that I mean, of course I wasn't there when slavery was ended and people started, but I think that group of people who were fresh out of that situation, and they're like children or whatever. I think they knew it more than the ones today because uh, they they a lot of them, they changed their last name to Freeman. I'm not an ex-slave. I'm a free man.
Mhm.
And that thinking was like, yo, like, I don't even got time to cry about what happened.
True.
I get a chance to do something. I'm going to take every, initiative to do it. And we see there is footage in history where black people were doing amazing things. I
No,
mean, of course,
that's right. That's
yeah.
right. So
So
the actually, so people who are really acquainted with history don't really have recourse to that sort of spare I just pointed out, do
right.
they? Because
What do you mean? Like, yeah, no, like people who know, yeah, they don't. But a lot of us though, when we were in school, I'd say like in this generation, like, okay, they taught us about George Washington Carver, like a couple black people, right? So
Mhm.
then you just thought like it was just like a couple who made it, right? Then I get older and I see, I'm like, hold up, it was a whole culture of people who were doing for self and they believed in their freedom and they wouldn't have been hyped to do what the government said, that kind of thing. And
Yeah, yeah, I would have liked to have seen him try this on those people, a half a century or
yeah,
more ago.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So that just people need to be reminded of that, and the schools definitely aren't teaching these kids. I mean, my God, we don't even want to get started on that. Like, um,
Oh,
I'm
that's
yeah, like about any like my generation, maybe like the one behind me is like the last to learn about the Constitution in school because now they're talking about the Constitution. Like, oh, excuse me, it has racial tones. I'm like, yo, you don't teach it like like you better tell them about it. This is a key document here. Like, what do you mean? This is what this is all about.
well,
But why would I
all
teach it if I
right.
didn't
You know
want
what? Can I remind you gently, Casey, that I'm an anarchist.
to?
Okay, and I'm not one of those black flag commie punks out there throwing rocks in the streets. I'm an
No,
American
we
individualist,
know.
right?
Yeah, we know. No,
So
no soy
I have
boys here.
I have my problems with the Constitution. I really do. All right. I maintain that it was a counter-revolutionary act, and to some degree or another, sooner or later, the three-fifths clause has to be explained.
Mm-hmm.
That all that has to be dealt with. However, it can be reasonably and rationally, I think, without
But
letting
they
everything fall to the communists.
right. But then it's the
My wife's
communist
standing here; she goes, "Chaos."
yeah. Like, but it's the communists teaching the kids, so there you go. You know, it is man, I guess I just never thought I would see this country the way it is. Like, I don't want to make it sound like not. I like in this journey though, I have met some awesome people. If you would have told me 5 years ago today that I would be doing this live stream with you, or and not that I didn't talk to like white people, that sounds crazy, but that I would even have a
No,
YouTube,
it
or that I
doesn't.
would,
I get it.
I mean, I just like because I wasn't that bad, but I had thoughts in my head though. But if you would have told me I would be doing any of this, I'd have been like, no, I'm gonna go to work, clock in, get my 40 hours of my paycheck, and just that's it. Like everything's figured out, and that's it. This is life.
Listen, be careful. You can ruin your life doing this. Ask me how I know this.
What do you mean?
Uh,
But like,
yeah, well, I'm always reminded of a passage in Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I want to say page 421 of volume one, and then go look it up. Where he talks about how people, just before societies fall, just such a generation of wise and thinking people arises. And these are the ones who were the first ones who were cut down.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah,
And you can see this dynamic at work all through American society and culture now on a variety of planes in a multitude of ways. Okay, it's no longer virtue that gets rewarded and stood up. It's vice and evil.
yep, yep.
Everything's upside down and inside out.
Mm,
So the more noise you make, the more dangerous it may become.
I know, but uh, I can't help it. I
I
have
know.
to say, I
When he
can't.
wrote that, I realized he was writing about me too.
Like, because it's like, then what is it all for? And this is now the perfect segue, but we have to speak up, man. Like, there's so much happening, and they want us to shut up about it. Like, we're in the brink of some sort of war, whether it's, a whole World War III nuclear, I don't know, but stuff is happening because they think they can do whatever. And now I am talking about the establishment, people who these elite people who are making decisions and don't even care about us, the citizens, or the citizens of the world. This proxy war in Ukraine, like, there's nothing proxy about it. America's in a war with Russia, and I don't care what nobody says. And I've been following this for a year now, like, and it's so much, it's there's so much detail to it that it's hard for me to cover the whole thing on my channel. I try to come back to it, but this has been a war prepared for at least over 8 years, and now everything is just coming to a head. And like, why I don't have a problem with Russians. Like, I'm fine with whatever they do it over there. Like, what are we doing? What is this regime change? So people have to talk about it. And then when this war first started, I mean, just to even say how people get dangerous, when this war first started, a lot of people were losing their channel on YouTube or getting demonetized and everything because the media was saying Russia bad, but then people got their sources and was like, no, this is what started this. This is why they were invaded and everything. And so, give the real truth. And one of the people who I followed, Jackson Hinkle, he came. I went back to his channel one day, and there was nothing there. But he was able to get his videos back, but he's permanently demonetized. And then he's like on a list, like a blacklist in Ukraine or something like that. Like, what is going on? You know? Because why? Because he was speaking the truth, because he was talking. So, but he can't help it either. So, you know.
Yeah, well, man. Oh man, there's so much to that. Everybody can publish anything they want to now, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but they can
Yep.
watch us better and more than ever before.
Oh, hello.
He's been hollering in the hall,
Well,
and
I'm
I
saying hi to
haven't
your
seen
wife,
him.
actually.
That's
She
Cindy
ran off.
girl. This is Teddy.
Hi,
He's terrible.
Teddy.
He's horrible. He's gonna chew on my pen.
Mhm.
So everybody has that camera just went dead. Oh, there it is. All
I
right.
can still see.
There are opportunities everywhere for everybody to watch everything in closer detail than ever before. This presents a lot more friction to the operations of the state, and they have to meet it somehow, and it's going to become more blatant as they do. That's my view of that.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
As far as this war goes, I look at it. You know what? I was listening to you talk about that, Teddy. If you knock that over, I'm going to beat you in the brain. Now he's girl, would you please? Oh my God, this rotten animal, Teddy. I was listening to you, Casey,
Mhm.
talk about the war and its origins and why and all of that, I was tempted to start pulling books down off the shelves. Dean Acheson, Secretary of State under Truman.
Mhm.
The books are in awful order at the moment. Okay, they come and go. Okay, I've been referring to a biography of George Kennan, who was a senior official in the State Department through the early 20s, through the early part of the century. He was he built virtually the Soviet embassy in I'm sorry, the American embassy in Moscow. Okay,
Mhm.
had a long career as an intellectual, just a thinker in the State Department.
Mhm.
He was a very weird guy. Authored what became known as the containment policy of not direct confrontation with the Soviet Union, but just girding them around their borders and preventing the world expansion that Lenin had stated explicitly was the goal of Soviet communism.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, this what we're seeing today is actually the results of sort of a mutation of containment policy after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the Cold War becomes a more direct confrontation between America and the Soviet Union, and part of that is, and I'm going to put this very crudely, but I love the way I put it. It's about bribing various countries in the West not to become communist. And this evolves into the you broke it, you fix it theory of international relations that we saw blooming through the 90s and into the 21st century. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and this is all conditioned by the bare constitutional fact that the United States has not declared war since December 7th, 1941. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. It feels like we have, but I see. I know what you
No,
mean.
this is in direct defiance and contradiction of the Constitution. It says Congress shall reserve the act to declare war. I don't know if that's the exact language. Okay, but it's the power to declare war is
Yeah,
reserved to Congress, and we haven't done it in 75 or 80 years now. But
yeah.
look at all of the military action in the meantime. And what this means is that the administration, the administrative arm of the government, right? The presidency and all the executive arm of the government and the legislative arm empowered to declare war. They've just sort of been winking and nodding at each other every time they wanted to go shoot and bomb somebody, right? It's become that easy for them. Okay. So what do you think? They're not going to game that system now in the 21st century? Okay. There's going to be graft and corruption and military contracts and you name it. What's crawling around in the Pentagon? I don't know. You tell me what would surprise you, Casey.
Yeah, no, nothing. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, no, nothing surprises me. So, and this is why, this, last year, a year ago, just about a year, because on the 24th, it'd be like a year when he officially entered, but been bothering, it's been happening for years. But the minute I heard, I can't remember, was it John Kirby? It was him, and it was another one that, and I made a
Ain't
video
he
about it.
adorable?
I know. And I made a video about it too last year. They were like, we know that Russia's going to invade Ukraine in maybe like a couple of weeks. And I'm like, wow, what they called you and told you that? Like, I'm like, well, wait a minute, wait a second. How do you just know? And then when they were asking them, like,
There
well,
are ways of knowing that. There
oh, I
are. There
know,
are
I
legitimate,
know. But my insides were telling me, they would tell me something I'm about to get right there. Like, because then they were saying, well, what about diplomatic solutions? Well, we're not sure, but we're open to options. I said, so you're not sure. And I said it in the video. I said, you're not sure about talking to Russia, but you know that they're going to invade. I said, what y'all doing to make them invade? And that's what I said. I was like, this smells like weapons of mass destruction to me, yeah. Like I said, I'm sorry. I was
Well,
like,
you know what? I have my own view of that too. All right. I got a good book around here by Christopher Hitchens. It's called The History of a Long Short War or something like that. Right, where he actually does make the case that Saddam had those weapons of mass destruction there. And now I've always been inclined to that view. So I'm not that skeptical of that thing. But the thing is, there's enough military, can't say what I want to say.
I
Right?
mean,
In the intervening years to make the case without that particular episode. We shouldn't be involved in any of this, man. I look back
right.
on World War II and wonder whether we should have been involved in that. That's how
Some people,
drastic I am about this.
some people, some people do say that they do, and so like for me, like, all right, even if Saddam, I'm not going to sit there and act like Saddam was a good person. I'm sure he did have a couple missiles here and there somewhere. You know what I mean? Who doesn't, right?
What's a few missiles between friends? When you're playing on that scale in that league, who cares? You know what I mean?
He might have 5 missiles,
It's
whatever.
awful that we sit here and laugh at this like this, but
We
that's what
have
it's
to.
come to, man.
Yeah, so I'm like, whatever, right? But I remember being 18 and hearing about, like, sadly seeing the towers go down, but then hearing we're going to war with Iraq, and I remember being 18, being like, I don't know how that makes sense, but I mean, okay. I was like, maybe because I'm young, I don't understand. All the way up until the point that I got older and I realized, like, oh, nobody understood. Like, oh, they just. I mean, I'm sure people
Nobody
understood.
understood.
Yeah, like I know, yeah, right. Like, but the mass majority of people were just like, you know what, whatever, go
Me
wherever.
either.
You see, like, but they had us like, do what you got to do because they attacked. So they could have said they were going where we were with it. We were. I was with it. I mean, I didn't enlist or nothing, but I was like, get them. I don't know who that is or where they are. And so which that is a whole nother can of worms. And then later on, you find out, oh, there weren't any men. Even if the ones, but really they made jokes. Didn't Bush? He was like, those weapons of mass destruction should be around here somewhere, making jokes. After you sent sons and daughters of this country to go get murdered or broken, whether it be limb by limb or in the mine, right? And we were still there. We occupied. And then we left
It used
in the
to
most
be a really
embarrassing.
serious thing to go to
Okay. Okay.
You know, you used to really had to think that through.
Yes. And then they
And
left.
now, yeah, but you know what? I just thought about that. Now we've raised generations who are like, they can't wait to do it. People who
I wish.
breed
Yeah.
themselves, groom themselves,
Mm.
knowing there's a market for it. Anyway,
Yeah.
they laughed. Yeah, they laughed.
They do. And now, though, this establishment, it's a shame because when I see like tweets from other countries and stuff, they hate America. Now it's just like that's just like I've seen people. Somebody told me one time, I hate your country on a Twitter, and down with America. And I said, listen, I said it's our establishment that makes these decisions, but the civilians here, we don't want this. We don't, And I said, so like this is not what anybody wants here. And she was like, she calmed down, was like, I understand, sorry, whatever. And then somebody else came and tried to say something else. How they get on Twitter, but it's like, damn, I love, this is my home, so I love my home, but I understand why they hate us, and not us like we didn't make the decisions, but so right now we're looking at Ukraine. So I'm gonna just talk a little bit about Ukraine just to kind of end that part off. And we are sending Ukrainians, and for what it's worth, I'm not a Zelensky fan, but this does not mean that we should be sending these people to a meat grinder, and that's what they call it. Like on the battlefield in Bakhmut, they call it the meat grinder because every time they send more soldiers over there, they get grinded up. They die. They can't fight off these Russians. They can't fight them off. And it's just a shame because like in April, they had a chance to have a peace treaty, a Minsk Accords, whatever. And then you find out that they were never going to do it anyway in the first place, or they had the Minsk agreements, but before, and they weren't even really serious about that. They were just buying time to beef up the Ukraine art. It's just and then you hear Lindsey Graham, we're gonna defend Ukraine we're in it to the last Ukrainian, and I'm like, God darn, you don't even think twice about what you say. What does that mean? What are they defending? Then they're losing so many men that they're enlisting them now at 16 years old. 16 years old.
I've
What are
been
they gonna
seeing
do?
the videos.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is this is like the watered down version of what I've been hearing is going on. And America just keeps we are radicalizing people across the world. Like, because I mean, what are they fighting for? And then while they're dying, you got Zelensky all over Europe acting like he's joining the European Union, asking for fighter jets. And these people, they're so obsessed. They have to take Russia down. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. I don't see a way that this
It's
ends.
a big project. I don't know if repulsion of the invasion of Ukraine would necessarily destroy Russia. It might destroy Putin. What are we talking about in terms like that? No one's going to occupy Russia, for instance. That's never ever going to happen. I think Napoleon and Hitler have proven that conclusively. But man, they can feed enormous resources into that fight. And I don't understand people who think that this administration and NATO and the EU and various, you know, of those lot. I don't understand who people who think that they're getting away with anything as they constantly feed weapons into this, as if people like you and I can figure this out, right? Putin can't figure it
Yeah.
out. What do they think they're getting away with?
Okay.
You're laughing with me, right?
Yeah, because it's like, right? Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like,
Everybody knows what's going on here.
like, right. That's the other thing. We keep sending them stuff. I reported on that last year too, somewhere around, I think it was like May. I said we keep sending this man stuff. I mean, these people weapons and all kinds of things. I said we are escalating. He's doing what he has to do, right? But he knows who he's fighting. And then what's even worse, guess what? One of them, who was it? Not Victoria Luna. I forgot this lady's name.
Oh,
I think it was a
Newland?
huh? No, it was a prime minister or something of in Germany. I forgot her name, but she straight said it. She was like, because we're fighting Russia. I said,
Yes, I saw that last week, I think, or early in the week.
I don't curse often, but
Yeah, she finally came out and said it, right? Listen, is this
said,
going to YouTube?
yeah, it is going to YouTube. It is.
Could you? I hate to ask a tech question like that. Could you DM me a link to this?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send it to
and
you if you want to sit it there and watch. You can listen. You can hear Casey. My wife's standing
yeah.
here listening to just my end of this.
Oh, okay, yeah, totally, yeah. I'm gonna send it to you right
Thank you, love.
now. We had some people come through. Red Sings the Blue. Shout out to Red Sings the Blue because now I'm looking and I see. Oh yeah, that's right. Red Sings the Blue. He is a stagehand and he met a ton of celebrities. He says that Billy sounds like my kind of guy. Oh, hold on. Let me send this to you on a Twitter right now. Oh, I didn't even see that you sent me that message. And like, but yeah, so she comes out and she says this as if she's like a tough girl, you know, and I'm like, lady, like, and I'm like, lady, stop adding me into your issues here. Like, I have
Right. I don't care what your problem is. Leave me out of it.
like what is this we? Like, no. But here's the better part. So we're gonna go into this story real quick. I'm gonna try to present it, share the screen. It should work when I do it. Of course, I'll have to find it. Of course, I always go to the Twitters because one thing about Twitter is definitely good for you can see this, you can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Twitter's definitely, let me drop that down. Good for news. Like it is. I don't know what else that man is doing to Twitter because it's a trash app right now, but I'm still able to get my news. Let me see. I was trying to see if I could find, and not that I'm even going to read the whole Substack. But did you hear about the Nord Stream 2 thing that it's revealed that, you know, America pretty much bombed Nord Stream 2, like got
You
rid of.
know, I don't know what to make of this yet, Casey. I was going over this with my friend Tim Starr, internet friend of mine. I've known him over 25 years. We've done a lot together online. Tim's a pretty knowledgeable guy and squared away, and asking him what he makes of this. And we remember some stuff from Cy Hirsch. I remember some of his work connected with the Clintons back in the 90s. And I know he's got a hell of a background behind him, but there are elements of this that don't make sense to me. And I haven't combed through it in detail. At this point on a story like this, I maintain that nothing would surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if they did, who was it today? Who was it one of the senators who was talking about, if it's false, it's a scandalous lie. Okay, but if it's true, it's an act of war. I'm unsettled on which it is at the
And so I can't remember who. Maybe it was Ted Cruz or something who probably said that, because I know that.
maybe.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're really excited about these things. Um, so for me, right, and so this is gonna sound like probably not crazy, but this war, for some reason, I've been guided on it on a spiritual level. I can't. I'm not. I can't disconnect from it because, and not. I'm not obsessed. I'm not every day like the war. No, like I want to make that clear, but it's like everything that I feel like is happening, and then I go back and I look, it's happened. There was this story in like earlier times of this war where they said that Russia came into Mariupol and decimated it and killed all these civilians. And I remember hearing that on the mainstream, and I was like, I don't believe that to be true, And then later on, you heard, well, we're not sure, and not that they echoed this so loud, but well, we're not sure. They weren't sure if it was Russians, but then the mayor of Mariupol was like, no, it wasn't. Like it was the Ukrainians who did it. And now they're building Mariupol, and it's like for me, everything that I feel, I feel like the stuff just makes sense. Not just because I want to see it a certain way. It's not that I want to see anything a certain way. I don't want to even be in a situation, but they lie so much. But when it happened, right before that, and I didn't read the full Substack, but Joe Biden, we're gonna get rid of Nord Stream 2. Everybody's happy that it's done. I feel like who else would do it? Who Germany wasn't gonna do that. Like who else? I can't see it being anybody else. I don't know. Maybe not quite that story. Maybe how he tells the story isn't perfect. But then also too, why put yourself out there? Because that's quite. I feel like it's dangerous. Because
You know
now,
what? My
mhm,
friend DM me this afternoon. He pointed out that Russia blew up its pipelines to Georgia and Kazakhstan when it had prior disputes with them. I haven't looked into that yet.
I mean, yeah, I could see. I understand what you mean, but I think also too when it first happened, there was this guy Jeffrey Sachs who I don't agree with everything Jeffrey says, but he was trying to tell him on the mainstream media, like, well, yeah, no, we did, it's more plausible that we did it. And they're like, that's not true. He's like, no, because there was some sort of surveillance, something that he was quoting. I'm loosely quoting him. He's like, this is why, because we were in such and such point. They were like, Jeff, it didn't happen. Shut him off. And they hurry up and got him off the air. And I'm like, he's about to state facts, like, or what he, something, you
What
know.
whatever he had to say right away, that's just like grinds my gears instantly. Okay, don't do that.
Right.
Right away, that makes me suspicious of you when you something like that.
And it was one of our news, our wonderful mainstream news
Hmm.
corporate because like, man, I just feel like they're out here just we are lied to so much. It's just that now I don't even watch the lies. I can't even bring myself to watch them. But all I'm gonna say is this though. I don't know, right? I wasn't there, right? So I'm leaning still towards that it was us. I still feel like it was us. I do. I do. Because I feel like this administration is very brazen. I do. I just feel like they don't care, you know?
And stupid.
Mm,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, you know, you know that they may be audacious, but at least they're dumb while they're at it. So there's that.
No, I
No,
don't.
I'm telling you, Casey, nothing would surprise me. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just I wouldn't be shocked too, because then we are the largest like exporter of natural gas and oils. You know,
You know what?
Germany.
It made a certain amount of sense to me just because it's exactly that stupid. At a time when the American government and the federal government and various states governments have been choking off natural gas production in this country for, where I live for 20 years now, at
Mm-hmm.
least, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the People's Democratic Republic of New York. Okay. They've been suppressing this production of this natural resource, which extends far as we can see into the practical future. They've been stomping that out. All right.
Right.
They could have solved that German gas problem by competing with them in terms of production, okay,
Right.
and producing so much gas that it would have been silly for the Germans to ignore that deal instead of dealing with the Russians, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if this is the way it played, instead of competing with them in terms of production, and with adherence to common sense and overthrowing all this environmentalist rubbish, if that had occurred to him, or
Mm-hmm.
instead of that occurring to him, then they just went and blew up the German pipeline, the German-Russian pipeline, just to spite that market. Yeah, I could see them doing that.
Yeah, they absolutely.
None of that would surprise me.
This administration is something else. Let me tell you, when it comes to the oil, I think there was like a shipment of oil that was getting ready to go to the UK. I forgot where it was coming from, and America, this establishment was like, nah, send it over here. They paid a little extra for it, and they took it. I reported on it. I can't remember which videos, but and they took the oil, and I was like, and what did they sell it back to y'all at a higher price? Like, this is too much. You know what I
I
mean?
don't know. I vaguely remember that deal. Yeah.
Like, it's just, what are we, pirates? Like, what's going on? So
But going and bombing a whole pipeline, that's kind of a big deal. But
that's,
again,
but
I don't know
somebody
what to expect out of these idiots.
I just still don't. I still feel like it's us. I do. And then Germany. Let me tell you something. They get the stick that they get out of this war. It's just. I don't mean to laugh, but they bully them into giving tanks. They like, because Olaf Scholz. I think he was like, "Nah, I'm not really trying to give tanks." Then they bullied him into giving tanks. America said, "We're gonna give our tanks." What was it? The arms. The heck is the name of those tanks?
Oh, Abrams, the
Arms. Abrams.
M1A.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And they were like, we're gonna give 30 Abrams tanks or whatever. So then Germany was like, all right, fine, we'll give the Leopard 2s. And guess what? Now, because I even reported, I was like, they're giving tanks and da 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 da. I was going off. And then yeah, we'll get them there eventually. We're not quite sure. Maybe in 2 years. But the Germans already giving tanks. I'm like, why are y'all operating like this with everybody? Like, what is, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But I know something is going on, because breaking news today, they and I'm not going to cover this too long, because I'm tired of this Chinese balloon thing. And not that I don't think that it's a serious thing. I just don't understand why it took a week for y'all to shoot it down. Why do we have to make this clown show out of it? Just shoot it down. I don't care what it was. You let it fly clear across the country. Well, today they said they dropped another one. So I don't know. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that happened, about 4 or 5 hours ago now we heard that report for the first time, and I didn't catch it on the first lap around the mulberry bush. The way someone explained it to me, it was like kind of an accidental drop in the middle of a Pentagon press conference. They suddenly let us know that they shot this silly thing down.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you know about it? It's significantly smaller than the first one, I gather.
So why don't we look at this? Is like a minute, and hold on, I gotta reshare it so I could put the the sound on it. So I'm gonna reshare it, and why don't we watch that and see, because I didn't know that much about it either. And when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I don't care. And I know how that sounds, but I was like, because y'all just keep doing too much. Like, all right, here we go.
At the direction of the President of the United States, fighter aircraft.
Can you hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because sometimes my speaker system.
No, I've got it.
Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, within U.S. sovereign airspace over U.S. territorial water. On February 9, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. U.S. Northern Command is beginning recovery operations now. U.S. Northern Command's Alaska Command coordinated the operation with assistance from the Alaska Air National Guard, Federal Aviation Administration, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have no further details about the object at this time, including any description of its capabilities, purpose, or origin. The object was about the size of a small car, so not similar in size or shape to the high-altitude surveillance balloon that was taken down off the coast of South Carolina on February 4.
All right. So wait a second. That's not a balloon, y'all. Huh. Oh, God.
They stopped. I don't know if they ever used the word balloon, but if they
They
did, they
didn't.
stopped it and started using the word object. So
Object. Yeah.
nobody really knows what they're talking about. I've seen
I
some flying
know.
saucer memes already at Twitter.
And so here I go. I like UFO. Let's see what's going on. I just want to, because what was that then? People saying it was a UFO. Let me go to the top, not just the latest. Oh, come on. All right. A zero hedge. Biden just took down a UFO. That was 2 hours ago. No sign.
I
No
went
sign.
looking for object shot down, and seems to
What'd
be
you
a
get?
thing. Well, same kind of thing. It's about what we know. I don't see any news.
Zero hedge retweeted this ABC News. Hold on, let me see. This they are highlighting this part. First reported that when fighters were scrambled, the pilots did visuals, got images, and said there was no sign the object had propulsion. It was described as a cylindrical and silverish gray and seemed to be floating. What the hell is going on?
Well, that's kind of balloon-like if it's floating. All I say is if it wasn't flying with any sort of propulsion, so that if
Right.
balloon-like, well, we don't have what? What's
Yeah,
all
that's
that
all.
supposed to mean?
That's all. That's all. It cuts off.
What here we go. Okay. Nobody has believed a bloody thing since GFK, and for good reason.
Right.
Because they keep lying to us. All right. And they keep hedging themselves like this as if they're talking to 4-year-olds who can't understand anything, right?
Right.
For some reason, they can't let us in on the joke, whatever it is.
Right. Like,
man,
this is just I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this because somebody wait, I want to see what Twitter's algorithm is seriously effed while catching up on the news about UFO shot down over Alaska. Someone pointed out there's a come down Alaska and now come down is trending. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is what the internet was made for, ladies and gentlemen.
It says it's trending while UFO news is falling off the list. I'm sorry. Oh God, I don't mean to crack. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second.
No, I completely understand. Believe me, it's come to that, Casey. It's that silly now.
This is clown world.
It could be the end of the world, and we'd get rubbish like that.
We'd be memeing the end of the world,
right?
So, guys, I don't know, and that's just it. I don't know what was hovering. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. They don't know. It's just tiresome.
Something? There's an odds-on chance that this story will just disappear and you'll never hear another peep out of it.
It's going already. Come down to I'm sorry.
Don't be.
It's gone. It's not coming back. And then it's the Super Bowl weekend. You think that story is coming
right.
back?
That story doesn't stand a chance. Yeah.
And guess what? That's probably the real story. I bet that's the real threat.
What they shoot down? No, forget it. Let me know what it's got death rays. Okay, let me know.
I know. You got a story about come down over here. I'm gonna just oh man. I can't take this planet.
Sure you can. Look at you. You're
Okay.
doing fine.
Because you just gotta laugh at the absurdity of it all. Like this
I
really
know.
dag, because for real, like what? Not even what? Maybe 10 years ago, if they would have came up on the news with this, everybody would be like, "Oh my god!" Like people would have stopped their tracks. But it's gotten so crazy that we're just like
Do you
moving
remember
right on.
the missile warning in Hawaii story? Do you remember that? When was that? That
No.
was, yeah. Wait a minute. When was? Oh my God. Uh, missile warning in Hawaii. When was it? It was 2018. Yeah, on the morning of 2018. January 13, 2018, a Saturday morning, a ballistic missile alert was accidentally issued via the emergency alert system, right? This thing went out by accident over television, radio, and cell phones in the state of Hawaii. The alert stated that there was an incoming ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii, advised residents to seek shelter before it concluded, this is not a drill. The
Oh
message
my
was sent at
god.
8:07 local time, and comedy ensued. Right now, people are like, "Leave me alone."
Yeah,
Who cares?
and you know what? After the last 2 years, it's like one story after another. Like so people like, listen, I don't know, something's floating. I already got my wings for Sunday. Like I'm trying to figure this thing out. Like, I don't even want to hear it. It's been a long day at work. I
Oh,
get it, I guess.
among other things, I'm also an atheist. Now, I don't like to throw rocks at the church. I don't.
Some
I
churches
don't.
need rocks
People
thrown
who
at them.
persecute religion, that doesn't make sense to me, and it's evil.
Mm-hmm.
Even an atheist can spot that. All right. But I happen to
Mm-hmm.
be married to an evangelical Christian woman,
Yeah.
and she sees nothing but revelation every day.
Well, I listen. I do too. Me and
I
her,
mean it like wide-eyed. Okay, she
I mean,
watches some of the stuff I look at back here. She can't even believe it, and then tries to describe it to her 83-year-old father.
I
Yeah, and Isaiah and Daniel. Now she's coming down the hall
yes.
testifying.
Listen, I'm right with her because I've been. I,
You should listen to this on YouTube, honey. What'd you say, Casey? I know y'all. That's how y'all see it. I know.
because it's so clear though. Like you can't. Some of this stuff I'm seeing, like the kings of the east will rise, and like I'm
Go
seeing it.
listen
Like
to
I'm
this.
just
I
like
can't put it on the
can't.
monitor. Why? I sent you a text on your phone, honey. Go do it. Believe
I,
it. I
and
know.
that's the part. That's
Go ahead,
that
Casey.
extra element because that's why this war I'm so extra connected to because I'm like, this is something spiritual. And so there is an element to this. Okay. For me, okay, right? For me, I am gonna look at it like that.
Go ahead.
The people who are running this operation, they have a religion that they follow though. They do. They do. I don't know what it's called or what. I'm not going to sit here and get into details, but some of this stuff looks sacrificial. This climate, crisis that they're telling us we can't have gas and we can't have cars, um that goes against like it goes against God. It does when they say they want to reduce the carbon footprint, or they'll tell you like you have to eat insects. That is completely against the teachings in the Bible, like the scavengers of the earth. Like that's crazy. So I noticed that everything they do literally goes directly against something that's in the Bible. And so I'm like, you guys know what you're doing. Like we're having the cattle keep dying. And I have to make a video on this because I follow a lot of homestead farmers and Yanasa TV. Shout out to him. He's always making a video, letting people know what's going on. They don't know why the cattle keep dying. And I'm like, because they're killing these cattle because they don't want the grazing animals, because grazing animals can generate the earth. All of this, like, oh, look at this climate change, and the earth is like dying. No, we need grazing animals, but they tell you that the cow farts too much, so you shouldn't eat the cow. And I'm like, so I gotta eat bugs. This directly goes against the teachings in the Bible. You have your grazing animals, it's good for the earth. But you're telling me they're a problem, and they're out here killing animals. I made a video about it, you know? So I'm like, there's something else that I'm just gonna have to feel and know, because they're not gonna come out and be like, well, yeah, in our doctrine, this is what we do here and what we do. But they love destruction. Even that Inflation Reduction Act doctrine, I had to put that down for a while. I was like, this is devastating. What they plan to do to switch out materials like wood, and we're going to do a new wood that's carbon friendly. Why? So, and maybe we can make buildings out of this special wood so everything can collapse. I know what this is. This is Build Back Better. And they tried to build back better Haiti back in 2012, and you see it today. These people are parasites. That's how I feel. So, like, I get it. Me and my probably we would be on YouTube for 6-7 hours going off like this, like, because it's so clear though, and it just makes me cling more to it, because it's almost, and in a weird way, I don't want to say it's exciting, but it kind of is, because it's like, yo, it's right here, and you see it happening. So I just
What's right here? What is right here?
just even like when they say like the Euphrates River will, like, this somewhere in the Bible, there's a passage and I am not a preacher. Like, I wish I was as good as a preacher, because they could pick up the prophecies like immediately. It says the Euphrates River will dry up, like in the time when God, Christ is supposed to come back, like the Euphrates River will dry up. Now that is a metaphor, actually, because the Euphrates River is actually a metaphor for the people who follow the teachings of Satan. And so when it's drying up, that means that more people are going to start waking up. And sometimes I feel like, even though there are polls that are saying like 50% of people say they don't believe in God anymore, I'm like, that's a lie, because there's a lot of people who are kind of waking up and saying like, what the heck is going on around here, right? But anyway, and the way that they get so aggressive with their policies, they just declared, and I'm not a Catholic, right? But they just declared what, Catholicism like a threat or something. The FBI, like, they're trying to declare it a
Yeah,
threat.
yeah, like the rosary is supposed to be some kind of terrorist code symbol thing or some kind
Yeah, I
of
bet it
nonsense.
is. I bet it is to somebody who wants to do bad things. And I don't believe in like rosaries and symbols, but still, I know what that means to a Catholic. And they don't, it goes,
My grandmother had one in her hand virtually all her life, and she was a
yes.
fine woman.
And she was a praying, yeah. So they know that, like, if people are praying and paying attention, you can't fall for the hype. You can't. You can't. And I'm not saying every day you got to be thumping. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they know, and they're getting more aggressive, and that's why they coming for America so hard, because of the values it was brought up on. And we are talking about an idea. I know, everything wasn't perfect because people destroy everything, but the
Yeah, but we've
idea
already
itself,
stipulated to that, and
yeah,
I think you're right, Casey. You know, uh, international communism as we know it, it's only about a little more than a century old now, beginning with a successful revolution in 1917. Okay, and
mm,
we could argue back and forth over that. The Bolshevik Party happens before that, etc. Yeah, the idea has been running, throbbing for a long, long time, but along the way, America has always been its biggest conquest, its main aspiration. It had to destroy America precisely because America was everything opposite the collectivist ideal of the communists, and proving it every day to the entire world. That had to be destroyed somehow.
there you go. But guess what? And so there you go. That's perfect how you put it, right? When I look at Marxist ideology, when I look at what communists want, it is everything against what I was taught as a child from the Bible about putting, again, gods before you, making yourself, excuse me, putting gods before God, making yourself a God, idolizing all of that. And then also breaking down like people's spirits and stuff, making them, it is a sin to call yourself oppressed. It really is. You should not call yourself oppressed. You can't say that a human has that much power over you. You're not supposed to fear a human. You're supposed to fear God. So all of it, it's like they have to break it down. So regardless of what, America was found on these values. So they had to break that down. And I have to say, they've been successful, because guess what? Now, so on a spirit, now this is a whole plane that this is just me feeling this, okay? But you have feelings, and I don't have a study. We talked about that, how everybody needs a study to prove something, right? Like, no, we can talk about what we feel like, but America was that, and it still can be, but boy, would it take a lot of fighting. And back to the moral code, right? It takes so much. But now we are playing right into this again, idolatry. Here we go with like even this trans movement with let's get the kids and give them puberty blockers. Mutilating children, there's nothing in the world that makes that okay, right? And then we push this to other countries. We go to like no matter what people think of Muslim countries, their religion is built into their government, their law. You don't gotta like it, but it's there. So why, America, are you pushing LGBTQ? What are you doing? They don't want that there, right? So we're going and we're pushing all
I
this
can't
stuff.
imagine who thinks that's a good idea, but you're going to routinely run into these people who are just that stupid.
Right now,
You know, they see it in a deck of, you know, a presentation, you know, and they think, "Yep, that's a good idea," and go run that program, and
right. But
that's as far as they look at it.
or is it just an idea? Is it something that's compelling them to do this? I remember when Russia first invaded Ukraine last year, Jen Psaki goes on and she's like, yeah, because we have to make sure that we protect the trans rights and the LGBTQ rights over in Russia because they're not. I'm like, yo, whoa, wait a minute. I'm like, what is this kind of war? I said, what is war in 2022? What? And I was like, this is weird because and Putin did make a speech and he did say like, y'all could do what y'all want over there. I don't want to hear. So has it flipped? I'm like, we're pushing Marxist ideology to every other country, but and it's easy for us to force it upon them, except for this country, you can't. So I don't know. They'll figure out what they'll do with that. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm just putting out what I feel as of right now. But right now, America, we are destroying our children with these ideologies. They don't teach them nothing in school. You got Baltimore.
I heard you the first time. Has it flipped?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting concept when America becomes the citadel of distribution of these horrible ideas.
Yes.
And, you know, I never thought about it like that before, Casey.
Yeah, because
who is, you know, name me another country in the world that's going through the number of transgender cases America is seeing.
okay.
I'd like to see that statistic.
Right. Like,
Has it flipped?
I mean, I'll tell you, and it's not just the West, like this stuff is too much. Like children. And adult, you want to cut your arm off, which really you shouldn't be doing, right? We really should be saying, what's the delusion? What's going on? That's what we supposed to say.
Did you do you ever watch Tim Pool?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about him next too. So yeah.
Well, you know what I was going to point out? I watched him. I think it was last night with Reed Coverdale and a couple of other guys, and they were talking about that exact thing. The question of whether or not body modification, let's call it, should be permitted. Okay. I look at this in a couple of different ways, but they're not disintegrated. Okay. I consider it philosophically within an integrated hierarchy of what classical philosophy is, beginning at the bottom with metaphysics, it's the study of existence, and epistemology, the study of how we know things, knowledge theory. Next comes ethics, and these are predicated on the lower ones, right? Ethics, study of values. Politics is the study of human social organization. So at a political level, someone asks a question like, should body modification be tolerated? And my question is, by whom? Okay. Me looking at something like that seems rather seedy and grimy, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. If somebody wants to cut one of their body parts off, it's none of my business. If any of y'all want to get together and do something about it, that's just fine. Leave me out of it. Now, in practical terms, this negates the state, no government. Okay. You don't force me into your solutions, right? That's politics. ethically, I can look at that from a question of values and go, well, that person's sick. All right,
Yes.
everybody agrees that there's something wrong with somebody like that, right?
Yes, like yes.
When it
Yeah.
comes to the question of what to do about it, that's none of my business. But I can stand over here and go, no, man, there's something wrong there.
And,
And
and
I
so
believe that's commonsensical enough that without the ratification of the state that this insanity is gaining today, most common sense people would laugh loons like that out of the room. Am I allowed to say that anymore these days?
I don't care if you are or not. It's funny and it needs to
Thank
be
you.
said. Like, but here's the
Thanks for
thing.
having me, Casey.
Like, like, no, I'm enjoying this. But here's the thing, just to touch on that real quick. After a while, you start off, you like live and let live, whatever, but they don't, you know, they don't. Like, you're like, hey, do whatever you want with yourself. No, you have to do it with me too. What? So
Right.
now I'm like,
Can I tell you about how many political arguments I've had online with people who aren't even like, socialists. Okay. These are people who just kind of drift along with the current. And, I would point out something that's desperately wrong in the culture today as a result of government coercion. And they'll try to back out of the argument by saying, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree.
yeah, yeah.
Right. And I have to point out, wait, we can do that over Fords and Chevys and Yankees and Red Sox. Okay. But we can't do that over, say, income taxes.
Right.
I don't get
Okay.
to agree to disagree with you.
Right. Right. As they still owe my money. 'Cause that's how I feel now about it.
You know,
I wouldn't mind a little tax if I saw it was going back to the American people, but I just feel like I'm being
given what it's
robbed.
come to now, they're skinning you for the rest of the world.
Yeah, for the rest of the world, literally. Okay.
I mean, it was bad enough when they were doing it for everybody in America. Now it's the whole world.
The whole world. The whole world. And let me tell you, this administration, I've been watching them, and they said equity. And when they said equity, I said, oh, here they go with the dumb stuff with America. I didn't realize it
The
was like
dumb stuff.
yeah, because I wanted, I was gonna say stuff, the other word. But but I was like, but then I realized I was like, nope, equity with the whole world. That's why your borders are wide open, and that's why we're taking in, all kinds of everybody from everywhere. Because American, you are privileged, so you need to share with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
they
that's why I
don't question where any of this came from, who built it, and how. And then lately, I mean, I don't want to hit this too hard, but we've been lately, I say the last 20 years or so, we've been hearing the idea that slaves built America, which is patent nonsense. Okay, so the whole thing's being hijacked to a Marxist conclusion along racist premises along of logic, right? And
right.
I don't know how it gets any worse, Tracy or Casey. I'm sorry, honey.
It's all right. It's all right.
But it will. It'll get worse.
It will.
I'll probably mispronounce your name again.
It will, because so here's the thing, right? Like that can be said in a rational way. Like, of course, because I've even heard Donald Trump be like, no, yeah, you built, not in the sense of built this country. Like, of course, you're a part of the country being built. Yes. But the Marxist wants to say, and so this is when I'm like, I'm not getting involved with that. The Marxist wants to say, no, we did it. We did the whole thing. No, you didn't. Like,
nobody else did anything.
Like, everybody did something. We can say how it was done wasn't good. I don't mind that, but I don't even argue those things anymore. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's just an argument to work on somebody's emotion so that they could go and try to break a building somewhere. Like, what is this for? But the Marxist has to bring the new idea, that no, the country was founded in 1619. I'm against that. Excuse me. Of course I'm against that, because history, 1776, like, there's papers to prove all like
that was the dawn of a brand new idea,
right,
in human history. Everybody knows that.
And so that's
slavery was an ancient idea in human history. Everybody knows that.
Yes, and everybody does know that. And the thing is, like, it was something else.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm like, it's just always a bunch of thoughts. But yeah, the Marx, they have to add their own. but I saw this
Yes,
coming. But here's the thing, and I told people, and I tell black people this. So this all sounds good, right? I get it. It makes you feel good. But guess what? It's not for you because they're just using your story to do
that's right.
something else. Okay. So like even defund the police, whatever they doing, and you hear Rabbi Siskumba about it, right? But guess what? You don't think that you should think they're just gonna get rid of a bunch of cops and then just leave you like this? No, they're not. They're gonna federalize it or something, bring some martial law. You already have
Mhm.
surveillance cameras in your neighborhoods. That's not normal. That's bizarre. You know what I mean?
You know
So
what? I'm all for defunding the police. Absolutely.
if
On American anarchist principles, but there has to be a corollary. Okay, everybody gets to own whatever weapons they want to defend themselves from the
that's
criminals.
true,
Get rid
I
of the
get that.
cops. Okay, we'll take care of ourselves. Okay,
I can
um,
understand that. You're right about that part, but
they don't have that in mind. That's not
yes,
what they have in mind.
yeah, you come in with genuine ideas. These people are this is not that. And
No,
for
they
the
have what you have in mind. Okay, they want their cops at the federal level, and we
exactly
saw this with some of the consent decrees under the Obama administration, didn't we?
what happened. Then I wasn't paying attention. I
There,
did
were-
not.
there were. Oh man, now I'd have to go dig through this. There were, um, you would see a federal lawsuit against a municipal police department. I think this happened in Detroit, at least one. Okay, I'd have to go through the. All right, the lawsuit would be settled in a federal court, and there would be a consent decree issued by the federal government, or signed by the city police department and the federal government. And the upshot was that the feds would end up overseeing the police in that
Yeah, okay.
municipality.
I
Okay,
did
this was
hear
a
something
thing
like
for a
yeah.
while.
So do you
All that.
see? That's what I'm saying. I'm like that's how
And that's what
that's
they
what.
have in mind. They did
Mhm.
federalize police across America if they could. They
Yeah,
defund police.
and
What?
that's how they got to give you, the dream. They got to tell you we trying to help. We're here to help.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
they're going to substitute the police or substitute social workers for the police. Well, what kind of imagination do you have to lack to not be able to figure out where that's going eventually?
yeah, right.
There'll be a
So
social worker on every block, just like the Soviets had. You know what I mean? Your party director, right? Making
yep.
sure of political conformity. That's where that's all going.
Exactly, and then making sure that you're following the rules. Now it's not even about laws; it's just the rules. And
Right.
even it goes back to like even there's there's some people and again with this trans thing, there's one of these Congress people, woman, Democrat. She was like she's trying to write a bill that if your child comes to you at any age and tells you that they're the other gender, you don't trans them over. That you could be investigated, it could be a crime. We will open up
Child
a
abuse.
yeah. And she's like, even if they don't go to jail, they could lose their job because they're gonna have a CPS. And I'm like, yo, and it's not. Now we're at the point, and I watched this show on YouTube, John Burke, the American Savage Show, okay, and he goes off when he talks about this. He goes off. He's like, this is the Civil War, right? He's like, this is gonna start the Civil. He's like, you hear this, people? They want to come into your living room and tell you how to raise your children. And I feel the same way. And again, when they had that standoff, they had the insurrection. There was a trans insurrection at a Capitol somewhere, but nobody cared, right? Because the right idea went into a Capitol, right? And so they were trying to ban a bill that was gonna stop the mutilation, of the kids and stuff. And then he said it again. He was like, you know what? This ends when the violence starts. Yeah. I was like, I feel him. What you mean?
It's you know what I mean. It's horrible, man. I think it was what 2010 or so that it was before the turn of the century that I had written a long time ago that all politics in this country is just dress rehearsal for civil war.
Yeah. Wow, you felt
Um,
that in 2010.
it was about then that I was misquoted by, I was going to haul off and say it, Bill Clinton.
Wow.
Somebody had seen this at a blog called the Western Rifle Shooters Association. It was on their, it was a quoted thing on their blog, and people had seen it, and somebody wrote about it, and somebody asked him about it. Okay, and he tried to laugh it off. I can't remember exactly what he said about it. But what I understood was that we have an irreconcilable conflict of directly opposed principles in this country. And if we can't reason with each other, then the only alternative is some form of force. And that means shooting the way the technology stands today. Okay. And I mean, more and more people seem to be itching for that sort of thing. And, I mean, if you look to that side of the room,
Mm-hmm.
most of that is devoted to military history. Okay. And if you
Mm-hmm.
understand anything, I've never served, but well, my dad did. Okay. And
Yeah, I remember you said.
I've never been to the moon either, but I understand the concepts of getting there. So I can understand some of what goes into warfare. And anybody who does must necessarily understand that this is not a desirable state of affairs. Okay. Nobody can
Right.
really seriously want this.
Right.
But how closely is it looming all the time? This is horrible.
It is looming in many different angles. And sometimes I feel it deep. And I feel like when it comes to the kids, you
Hmm.
know, um, people will be like, hey, wait a second, people don't want this, what they're doing to children. And like,
But sooner or later, I was going to get to that point, Casey.
mhm,
People will fight.
yeah, because it's like,
Sooner or later, they'll be driven to it one way or another.
unless,
If
yeah, yeah,
unless you just leave them alone,
just leave my kids alone.
how hard could it be?
You're right. And just, and that's why they want to break up all these families and things like that, because it's like people will
Right,
die for their children.
right.
People,
And if
parents,
those values don't exist anymore, they think they can get rid of that conflict. Well, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the odds are that that's going to work for them?
you're trying to get rid of what people who want to,
Yeah,
no,
but so now they're working on the family. Let's see how that far they get.
yeah, it's not. I'm telling you, like, but that's why they're trying to take these little kids as sponges. It keeps going back to the children. What I saw, and then this will actually segue a little bit into, Tim Pool and everything and the drama going on in that situation, because I worked in psych, and this was back in 2018. I worked at adolescent psych hospital, right? Acute, get the kids stabilized, send them back home. A lot of kids coming in, girls especially. They were like 11, 12, and they would be like cutting, some of them had like scars and stuff. And then, so when you're doing their admission, it's like, okay, how tall are you? Okay, how much do you weigh? So then the next question is, okay, what's your gender? Which, first of all, that's annoying, right? Because you're supposed to use the word sex. I didn't even realize when they changed it to gender, right? So then I remember that this girl, she was like, I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? And I wanted to say so bad, like, you think maybe that's why you're cutting, because you're trying to make a decision that's actually already been made for you, like. But we are now, and this is why I got this career. I'm grateful to God for a career, but I know I can't stay in it long, because I'm gonna blow after a while. I can't lie. We're supposed to act like this delusion is normal. So I'm supposed to just be like, okay, not sure, non-binary. No, there's the site. There it is. There's a source of the problem right here. Let's talk to them about this. But instead, you want me to act like this delusion is normal. And I remember there was a man, I was working with adults, and this man, they came out with this one. It was around 20. Yeah, it was 2020. And they were like, Casey, you have to, we're signing in services. But my supervisor, he knew. He was like, he knew I was going to have something to say. He said, yeah, if somebody comes in and, they're trans and they identify as a woman, they can use, or they identify whatever, like they can use whatever bathroom they identify as. And I said, excuse me?
No,
I
you
said,
didn't.
this makes no, mind you, I'm working in a facility where the men are over here and the women are over. So what are we doing? So we keep them separated, but then a man will say he's a woman. And then I said, what? I said, this is like
A psych ward
okay.
where you
And
might
then,
expect that sort of thing, and they might even say that they're pumpkins or
thank
carburetors.
you. And I was like, first of all, I said, this is
Who
a
knows
delusion.
what?
We're supposed to reorient them to reality. He's like, Casey, he's like,
Good luck.
like, because that's what we're supposed to do. This is the whole job here, right?
Oh man.
And he's like, Casey, can you just? I was like, I'm not signing that. I was like, I'm not signing that. And what happened? The next day, this guy, he comes. He was a man for the last week. Now all of a sudden, he has a kimono, and I still to this day, I'm like, where did he get that damn kimono from? His nails were painted, and he was like, my name is Victoria, and I was like, I am not calling you Victoria. You need to come and identify. I was like, that is not your name. But do you know, really? I mean, I walk a fine line, but I could be fired for that. What are we doing?
I know you got all my sympathy. We spoke on the phone some months ago, right? Remember that?
Yeah,
I described to you. My mother was a nurse.
Oh, yep, you did. Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And she got out of it because, well, you know what? I mean, she didn't get out of it. She was an LPN. She took an LPN in 1976. I mean, that was still something back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was projecting forward to her RN. She got a job in a hospital, worked in an operating room for 20 years, and was happy there, and saw where this was all going, and decided not to invest the work, the time, and effort, money, and any of it. Okay, in the RN. Retired away from the hospital, worked with an oral surgeon in his private office for a while, and then worked with an oncologist in his private office for a while, and then got out of it all together because she didn't project these details in the corruption of American medicine, but she knew it was not going anywhere good real fast.
Yep. And even
I hate it. I hate to see it.
God bless
to see
her.
where you are, Casey.
Yeah, the medical, and I say this on Twitter a lot. So the medical industrial complex to me is worse than the military one. It absolutely is.
And that's I don't know how to take issue with that. I don't. It's you look around, there's these towering piles of corruption now, and that's one of them, and it's especially horrible.
It is.
Because it's not like an outside military threat or invader or anything.
Right.
America's doing this to itself.
Yo. Like when I realized it's just, man, like man, it's almost too much to comprehend. But but to even just lay this sentence out, just once, like we literally, I would say about 80% of the diseases that we're trying to cure, we brought on to ourselves, and not just because of the food or, how people like, oh, you eat bad, and like, no, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And so, and I'm being conservative with the 80% because I don't want to sound hysterical. It is a problem for me. It is. And I see it clearly, but when you're working around, I'm quiet at work a lot. I'm easy to get along with, but I can't get too deep into the conversations because either people are going to either think I'm crazy or they're going to try to get rid of me. So what can I do? It is bad. It is terrible. It's really terrible.
Do any of them know that you're hanging with a kook like me right now? Right? What are we doing over here?
Man, but like I that's what I would say. I thank God for my close people around me. Like my best friend, we go on all day. My brothers, I've been blessed that way where. Because some people are really isolated, man. When they woke up to like a lot of stuff that they can't
they don't know what to do or or say or who to say anything to. I'll bet that's disorienting.
It is. So I thank God for that. I do think, because like I constantly meet people like you, people. I connect with people who we're talking about different things. We don't have to agree on everything, but we're still having real, genuine conversation. Not superficial stuff. And I just
we're not like shooting at each other in the streets, Casey. I think we're doing pretty good so far compared to a lot of people. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, it's just so, but even segueing, so but I was saying about the little girls though, it was a lot of little girls coming in like that. And like Josh Slocum, I don't know if you ever watch a Disaffected podcast. He says that his podcast is awesome, man. So he says it's like with the little girls, it's like how there used to be a lot of eating disorders. You don't hear about that too much. Well, now they're mutilating themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or Munchausen by proxy. has gone from putting Pine Sol in the cereal to my boy is a girl.
Right.
It's so accept. So the borderline person, the one with borderline personality disorder, usually a woman who's orchestrating this behavior,
Yeah.
it's perfect. They get to destroy this child, and then society says, "Good job. You're such a brave person for having a trans child." Oh my god. Ah, at least before, when people were doing this to the kids with with the Pine Sol and everything, they got in trouble after a while, but it took a while though. These people were very good. They went to different doctors. They
Yeah,
had
crafty
destroyed things.
criminals can be difficult
Very
to
crafty.
detect,
Yeah, but
but
now
this is socially significant.
it is, and that's why I don't know when the last time I heard about a Munchausen mom, like
No,
from the yeah, like the ones yeah, like
no,
right,
there's a whole new market for that impulse now,
right.
isn't there? That's what this is. Wait a minute, this is the way.
Like, oh, I had to put the Pine Sol and pretend I had to go to 17 different doctors.
You get to keep them around the house, and they make cute museum pieces, and you can take them to the mall and march
And
them
then people
around.
donate money
Pat you
to
on the
you.
back.
Right. You could put them in a show. Isn't this
Yeah,
and like I said, a lot of times, if not, 90% of the time, it's a woman. It is a woman.
yeah.
And segueing now to this, I don't know how long do you have? Because I
I
was
can
gonna go like
I can go a
another
while.
like yeah, I'm gonna go like another 30 minutes. I'm gonna end it with this, but not like rush end it. Because we're doing like the weekly wrap up. We didn't even talk about the state of the confusion address, and there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, Joe Biden went and just lied to everybody about every single thing that came out of his mouth. Goddamn. If you could even understand it, it was just that's what it sounded like to me. So I was like,
Somebody ought to be really ashamed of themselves, but I don't know how many of them there are.
they don't care. I don't think it.
No,
But
they
then
don't. You're
Joe
right.
Biden is like a huge sociopath to me because sometimes I'm like, you're
Oh
not
no,
as off as you think. Just make people think that you are. Like, huh?
I'm convinced that I mean, it's pathetic to watch this. It really is. It's horrible, but I'm convinced he deserves it.
Like, yes, this guy. Yes,
I'm
yes,
not the one who set out to make a career of ruling other people's lives. Okay, he
but
did that. He can live with it.
he did. Yeah, he did, and in ways that they don't let us talk about. That laptop, I can only imagine. They talk about like China and Ukraine. I'm like, yeah, f that. There's other things in there, bad
And
things.
yeah, I've never known everything there is to know about that story. I don't know if the contents of the laptop were completely available or how much has been made available here or there. You know what I mean? I've seen as much horrible material leak out of that thing and, drips and drabs down the walls, leaving the stains that it does as anybody else. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah, I'm content to imagine what's there.
this is exactly. I'm sure there's things in there that would just I don't know how people have that information and I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut. I'll just put it that way. But then it's just so unfair because then I would be the one they would put in like a jail or a psych ward for
Oh,
what they're doing, or they would kill me.
well,
Like
you and I, people like us, we're not important enough to take care of when it comes to something like that. Now,
right.
we'd go away right away. Poof.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Where'd they go? Right? In the middle of the night, boom.
Suicide to the back.
We wouldn't get to wake up to press conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my fault. Whoopsies. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I just go ahead and end that immediately. He like nobody cares about her.
There's
Oh
there's
boy.
no telling what they're hiding. Okay.
Okay.
51 intelligence officials. Was that the number? I think. Yeah. They're telling us that the laptop was Russian
Yeah, I know.
disinformation.
Remember that? Yeah. It's always Russia. So damn, y'all ain't got nobody else to blame. It's just too funny. But
Nobody has believed a thing since JFK. Does anybody wonder why?
I know. I know. Like uh and they just lie so it's terrible. But um to go back to the borderline personality disorder with women, I did want to touch on this subject, right? So I don't know how much of like that whole Tim Pool thing you know about. How much do you know? Like, do you know about like that drama that's I don't want to even call it drama because it's more important than that, but go ahead.
I was lurking that story, watching and reading, but I'll tell you what, and I said this once, I think I said it on I can't remember where I said it. Um, I saw her appearance on Tim Pool the first time, right? The
Okay.
red dress,
Uh-huh.
and I got the shakes right then and there over.
Okay.
There was something I just didn't swing right to me. I couldn't put my finger. There was a pretense going on. That's as close to the bone as I can cut it. I sensed a pretense,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. So, and you're right. Because for me, all right. So obviously,
And I'm
everybody knows.
aware of what's happened and like her efforts to stomp some people's channels and social media and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, I've seen this whole thing. As to go ahead. What do you think?
Well, so for the background for everybody, we're talking about Eliza Blue. So the first time I saw like a couple tweets of her like a while ago, and they were saying like, "Oh yeah, she's a trafficking survivor, and she does all this stuff, and blah blah blah." And I remember thinking like, I feel like I would have known about this person if they do. Like, I'm not quick to just believe everybody, especially women. I'm sorry, I don't care. And so, um, so I'm like, I don't know. And then Josh Slocum from the Disaffected podcast, he had retweeted something she said, and he made a critical analysis of it. It was real quick, and I can't remember what it was, but left that alone. And then now, so this girl, she's all, I'm the arbiter of free speech or whatever. No, not arbiter. I will die on a hill of free speech.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when people started asking you about, hey, something's not adding up with your past, and they shared a public image, the the accounts started getting banned left and right. Okay, left and right, they started getting banned, and that's when my spider senses went off. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? Because I don't like censorship in just about any form. Let me be clear. People are like, oh, this is a white supremacist, racist, anti-Semitic. Keep them on so we can debate the bad things they say, right? If they're so bad, let's debate them,
right.
but don't get rid of them. I've been saying that for years. Like, I don't have to listen to anything they say. I don't care. Don't get rid of them. So if I can say that, so now she's getting mad about a public image, and so she starts getting it's still to now. There's like 25 videos that have been taken off of YouTube, like prominent people who make videos, but not prominent enough where they got lawyers that could actually fight it. And so the whole thing with Tim Pool was like, you know, yo, man, I thought you were about this, free speech stuff. Nobody was asking Tim to, you know, say he doesn't like her. Just you could have just at least said, well, I guess because the quartering had gotten banned. And then he was like, you could have at least just said, like, whoa, what's going on? Why is Jeremy off of Twitter? What's going on at Twitter too? I thought that we were done, that feels like old Twitter. And to me, I feel like it's all the same Twitter. But and then that became like a whole thing. And so now Tim Pool's talking about retiring. He turned around and made this. I feel like he turned it around on him because people were super chatting him, asking him to talk about it. But it's the censorship first. That's the issue with me. And now, I would say you can lie about whatever you want to lie about, but I'm not saying stuff like that anymore because here we go. This is why society is where it's at. It's always like, well, you have the right to do X, Y, Z, and I get that, right? But I'm calling out the BS. If you want to keep lying, keep lying, but there's BS in it. And then her words. She said she was trafficked as an adult because people were sharing and sending catfishing men with her images. So she called that trafficking. So that's just kind of like a little bit.
To me, that's an example of how far the language has been separated from its reference and reality. Okay, that's not the same thing at all. But we're trying to smear those two concepts together. I just hate the sloppy thinking of that. Casey, can you excuse me for a minute?
Mhm.
This will take me a minute. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
yeah.
hon.
But I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna keep talking to the crowd. So, guys, so for you guys, if you just made it here, uh, who else has anybody even been on? Okay, has anybody? Two people are watching now. Okay, that's what's up. I'm gonna pull up the stuff about um image-based sexual abuse. This is what this girl says she was going through. Um, so y'all can see that there's no such a thing. I mean, not to say, excuse me, not to say there's no such a thing. This is actually what she's trying to do is make something serious about what she has going on. All right. This girl, I'm convinced, has borderline personality disorder. Hold on, let me check my phone real quick, y'all. Sorry. My phone. Oh, Doppel Underground is on. Who else is on? All right. Sorry, guys. Hold on. And then, so I'm going to kind of make this the video too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're back. Oh, that was fast. Yep. Yeah, no sweat. Perfect. But you came right on time. So what I'm sharing with you now, so because I was starting to talk to the crowd. The last thing I'm gonna say at this point, like, so I just released a video about her not too long ago. I don't like when people lie, okay? And women, not all women, and that's the last time I'm gonna make that disclaimer, but as a woman, I know how women play the system. He hurt me. He's a predator. No, we have enough going on with not having enough real, men out here to do things to protect and all that. So I don't play that game about loose words to make somebody look like a toxic man or a predator. I as a woman feel like it's almost my duty to call it out when I see it because not enough people are doing it. Okay. So now this girl goes on Twitter and she says, I was a survivor. You know what? Let me just actually, I'm gonna share the Twitter because and stuff like this is important because I've had people like some people say, "Oh, why do you care so much?" Like, don't you get it? You know how many men have gone to jail over an accusation that was not true? Of
That's
course,
classic.
Yeah, right.
That's happened forever.
That's what I'm saying. And then, but it's bad enough that that's classic. But now, when the definitions are changing, like you said, the definitions are changing and making it even easier to happen, where you don't even have to touch the person, right? Where you could just say, "Oh, you're cute," and then that turns into a thing.
Yep.
Okay, so now this girl goes, oh God, she's so annoying. She, you know what? I think she took it down. I think she. Oh no, yeah, she was begging for brave.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, she's begging.
Was it today? It was today.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, so just to share with the crowd real quick. Today I have decided to change my story as a survivor.
Change my story. That right then and there, I'm like, oh, you
okay.
What are you talking about?
Me, like I was reading this and I'm like, change her story. So I said, what's going on? I have been abused a third time on a massive digital scale. You see this metaverse? Yo, okay. It's called image-based sexual abuse.
Oh, is that what it's called? I got to go look that right up. Wait a minute.
Oh, don't worry. I already pulled it up for you. I pulled it up. Right. I don't like because at first
I'm wondering who called it that. Did anybody ever call it that before?
So look, watch. This is really a thing.
Go ahead.
The borderline knows because that's what I call her. Because I don't care. She has borderline personality disorder. I don't care. I know. This is classic signs. Okay. Anyway, but they're smart. They're not. She knows what she's doing. Every individual who knowingly profited off of this content without my consent has become my abuser in my story. You hear this? So somebody got monetized for their video. This is what she's trying to say. Though they were already demonetizing the videos, you didn't fight for censorship. You fought to exploit me. It's all about her. Spicy
Right.
pics, because I don't know, news section. I don't know if I could say all that without my consent. If you would have asked, I wouldn't have consented. You believe that I consented previously, so you decided to take my body and use it for your gain. So to prove I'm not a survivor, many made me a victim again. These words. You can never say I'm not a survivor of exploitation now because you made me one again. You didn't fight to expose um government malfeasance or tech censorship. You fought to post my body without my consent. Okay, so did a wow, this last one right here. I'm not even. I can't even open up that can of worms. So now if we hold on, let me stop sharing. Come back. I'm gonna share now. So when I first read this, I said this broad is crazy. But then but as with my nursing mind, I said, let me go look this up because I feel like this might be a thing. So I went and I looked it up, and then hold on, I'm gonna share the screen again, and it is a thing. Okay, and so it's a thing so much that our NIH,
Okay.
huh?
Okay.
Yeah. So, but no, I don't. It's a thing in idea, in theory, but the fact is, for me, it's garbage.
I know,
Yeah,
I agree. I was
yeah,
just curious
yeah.
about how, like, well established it was versus whether or not she just popped
She
that
just
out of thin
chopped that
air.
up, right? No, she's so smart. It almost makes me feel like this broad is infiltrate. Okay, so image-based sexual abuse in culturally conservative Nigerian society. So they did like a study, but I'm gonna go and tell you the conclusions that they said that. Hold on, the results. Victims of IBSA, people they love the abbreviations, were found to be subjected to higher social condemnation, stigmatization and isolation based on greater oh my god, I'm doing this because I'm getting nervous, I don't know why. Attributions, oh my god, why am I reading like a Haitian? Sorry.
Do you
Of-
hear me doing it? I can't even I got this little echo in my I can't pronounce a thing all night long. Can't wait to see this thing. Go ahead, you're
Okay,
doing
thank you.
fine.
Make me feel better. Because I'm like, I say this word all the time of blames to them by their social network. Evidence of guilt, evidence of institutional re-victimization were documented. Victims also reported self-blame, paranoia, anger, guilt, depression, suicide ideation, an attempt in dealing with abuse, secondary victimization, and social isolation. All right. So this is our government website that says this, that's what that is. And there's other things that have been written about it. It goes as far though. This is new. This is kind of new for like
I'll
in
bet it is.
when I it's always when I read about it, I think already in the UK it's a crime. Now I don't think it's a crime here, but they've been writing little articles about it since 2017. So it's kind of, it's a new thing. So she found a thing. These like hypothetical crimes. This is dangerous. Okay. This is absolutely dangerous. The next thing, I'm not a psychic or whatever, you're going to hear that this girl, she didn't end herself because the borderline never ends themselves. They say they're going to do it, but they don't do it. But we might hear like, oh, she was in the hospital because the stress, you know, all to catch the attention because her story is now people seeing it's not adding up. It never did. It never did. But this accusation, she can lob that at anybody. They have Andrew Tate and Christian Tate in jail, still detained in Romania without any evidence because they're still trying to find the evidence. That's what they say. I'm not the one. They say it in the articles. They're looking for the evidence. They still haven't detained, and they're saying we're looking at the lover boy charge. So the lover boy charge, when you exploit a woman, make her feel like you love her, so then you get her to do things for you. I was like, men beware, because I had a lot of y'all break my heart like this, but this is not a crime, huh? So that's my
It will be now.
yes.
And of course, some of us are aware of a certain subset of women who just can't stand men, will do anything to ruin them,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
no, they can have wide play on a field like this.
That's my point. And she's doing it. And I'm like, is this broad like an infiltrate?
And you know what? One thing about this latest tag that strikes me is it's not very discriminating among those who, who, to my mind, could legitimately employ some of this imagery to refute some of her positions. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
uh, anyone following this whole thing has seen the apparent contradiction between what she's saying and what some of the video work that she did. Right. Okay. So anybody reporting on that is now subject to this. Well, they would
Yes.
be able to legitimately use imagery like that to make that report.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like even
But
I
it's a blanket cover now.
that's what s- all of society has become. And some people now this I can't figure out the connection, but I wouldn't be shocked. Nothing, like we said, nothing shocks us anymore. Some people think that
I'm
she's
not
an
happy too. You're not happy.
right. Some people think that she's an FBI informant, and I'm like, that's a bit much. But I will
I
say
wouldn't go
this,
that far.
right? But I will say this though: how would like perfectly would this equation work out? The study that I just showed you, they did this study on conservative Nigerians. So this is talking about like slut shaming, if you will. You know what I mean? Like that's there was like a term like that, right? And
Yep.
so bringing shame. Now, mind you, nobody in their videos did that. They were just saying like, "Yo, your story's not adding up."
Right.
Okay, but who would bring shame, quote, shame to a woman who's walking around doing the most? It traditionally is a conservative to be like, hey, you need to put your clothes on, or something like that, right? So, what if this girl, now, the right wingers, I just don't get everybody, yo. Tim Pool had her on the channel. Mike Malice, well, he was kind of weird about her. Epoch Times, she's been on Epoch Times. Okay, she's been everywhere, getting to know these people. And then now here we go. This allegation that she's gonna start throwing around. So it almost makes it like it it just feels like it's absolutely an attack on free speech. But is it a coordinated? This feels so coordinated, but I don't think she's an FBI informant. But she's a smart borderline. She definitely is. And she is. And she found it. And she's going to milk this because she's not going to let this go. She's losing followers. She likes the attention. They feed off of attention. And she's not done with this. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any videos about her. Not because I'm scared or anything. I just don't want to. I don't want my channel to just be about drama. But I'm gonna keep it real because Tim Pool said another thing. He went on this whole pity party, and yes, I'm gonna call it that. Well, I don't appreciate people swatting Tim Pool. I've talked about that before. That's not good at all, at all. But that wasn't happening after this. This was happening before. But he was like, people just worried about drama. They use my name in videos just to get their videos up, and it's just all everybody's worried about drama. They're not worried about politics or what's going on in the world. Yeah, that's true, but we still do what we have to do. And that's not all the way true. And for me, it's like, I'll make a drama video to get people to come check out the rest of my catalog. Or maybe I make a drama video and I'll be like, hey, oh, by the way, guys, did you hear about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? But yeah, if you would, you know what I mean? You got to get the audience if you trying to get people's attention about everything that's going on. So yeah.
Well, it's an interesting case to me just for the media wrinkle. Okay. She's running around shutting down people's accounts after making a lot of noises as she was. I get to judge that.
Right. Right.
I don't think that's
This,
cool at all, but
that is not. It's hard enough to make this content. Chrissy Mayer had 4 of her videos taken down.
yeah,
It's hard enough, man. You hear editing and yo,
right.
what? And now
I
I gotta
know.
walk eggshells around the word cove.
You know what?
Jazz.
That's what keeps me from doing more of this, Casey. Okay, people don't realize there's a lot of work in this.
It is, although I think
And when you're
she's
doing it all by yourself, people think, "Oh, cool, we're gonna go run a podcast." All right, set
yeah,
out their little iPhone, right?
that's what I thought too. She
No,
check out my
yeah,
phone.
no, man. If you want to do it, there's a lot more involved than that, and you're doing everything by yourself. You watch most video production, you're seeing it, and you're not seeing the staff behind that frame. You don't have that. Neither do I. Do what
Right.
this is. You know, and so to have something like that just tossed over a matter like this,
Okay,
God
it's
bless
not
Rumble. That's my view of that.
right, but at the same time, it's like remember there are people. It's one thing. It's already bad enough. Again, I say, like I said, I keep going back. Jackson Hinkle lost. He can't be monetized. Almost lost his whole catalog because of a war. Me, I almost lost his channel when I only had 67 subscribers. God bless all of them too, because I am grateful for everybody who watches.
Mhm.
But because I kept saying, because I would talk about that jab, and I'll be like, guys, I have another video, and then they kept. I came this close, so it's already bad enough. You got a shucking job, and for right now, everybody is mostly on YouTube. So you're trying to capture a new audience, like, hey guys, hey, wait a second, there's something going on over here. You don't know that this building is burning, and we're just trying to tell you that the building is burning. All of this right here, what we just talked about, I can tell you that there's a lot of people who don't know a single thing. This,
No, I
like going
know.
on. Yeah, like so you're trying to get this audience. So because at the point where you're at Rumble, you more than likely know what I know because you knew to go to Rumble.
Right. That's
But
right.
so we're trying to wake up the masses. You're trying to wake people up, however you do it, your own style, whatever, right? Because you're just thinking free. It doesn't have to be that we're all agreeing on the same thing, but we're just free thinking. And then now you got to worry about somebody's feelings and this whole public image based sexual. Yo, whoa. You one person, you don't feel bad, but of course not, because this is all classic personality disorder. Because it's like, no, y'all are doing this to me. So I have to fight. Amazing.
Change my story.
Yes. That's normal to
Well,
her. I'm a
I hope that
victim
works
again.
out for you. Yeah.
So I don't know how far this is gonna go, but it's working because people have already been censored, and that's where the anger came from with Tim. So I don't know what Tim's plan is, if he's gonna retire or whatever. I don't know. So
I don't know. I usually tune him in every night sooner or later.
right. Well, he did come on tonight and do it live, but this morning he usually has a 10 o'clock segment, but I guess he thinks the world doesn't care, so he's not gonna have the 10 o'clock. Get stop it. Like that's enough, okay? Because you get numbers, so the world does care. They care. Don't do that, Like, I don't know, but I don't know. But to end off with that, when I see things like this, especially with women, I'm always going to call it out because women have. Dennis Prager said this. Men had to like learn how to control like certain type of feelings of like violence or like sex, things like that. He's like that is our nature. That is our nature, and we're always constantly told to keep it under control. He said, but women have a nature too, and they weren't told to keep it under control, and it's their emotions. They get hysterical. Obviously he's not talking about all, right? But he's like they get hysterical, but it was okay because she's a little girl or she's hormonal or there was always an excuse. And now women are destroying society. And I was like, I can't really argue that right now. Who's pushing all the trans stuff? Who's, the Marxists, even with the racial stuff? Who's the loudest? When you see the racial Marxist stuff, what did they say? The NHL needs to be more diversified. It was a black woman saying that. You know what I mean? It's a woman. It's always a loud woman who's pushing a lot of this stuff. So
You
I
know,
can't be mad
I hate this. I do. I have to.
at.
But at my age, I'm 66 years old now. Okay. In the
Mhm.
90s, I dated a very sharp woman who studied evolutionary biology at Johns Hopkins University and who made a slamming case that allowing women to vote was one of the great catastrophes of Western culture. Man, I hate to even have to think something like that because of all the great women I've known, right?
Yeah.
But then to even try to say something out like that out loud, no, it feels like, like who's coming if I say
Yeah.
that?
Right. But guess
What's going to
what?
happen here?
I've agreed with that statement a few times. I'm not, there's another girl who I follow on Twitter. She's like, the way you women act, she was like, I'm ready to give up my right to vote. I understand, like,
Well,
the,
I'm an anarchist. Remember this, okay? I insist that there's no moral right to vote, and that everybody should stop
please.
it. So that's my more principled stand when it comes to that sort of thing. But I understand this argument. I really do.
I do too. The older I get and the way I see how women act around me and they get emotional and they jump to constant conclusions. Remember the Roe v. Wade thing? All it did was send it back to the states. Oh my God. People who I knew, they was like going crazy. I'm like, dang, first of all this, and mind you, a bunch of 40, 50, 60-year-old women was going off. I'm like, you got a baby on the way. Like,
Right.
what's going on?
Right.
It's like, I gotta scream about stop.
No,
Like,
honey, you don't. Trust me, you don't.
okay. And I had to, but this one lady I work with, and she's a liberal woman, and she's like, no, we have to, that my 60 something, we had to what they did was wrong, and this, that, and the third. And I said, but how is it wrong? I said, they just sent it back to the state. It actually gives you more power. She's like, yeah, no, but we should all be doing the same thing. I said, no, but that's not what this country was intended for. Like, we have states. But then she was like, it should be. I said, and then I said, think about it this way. Y'all want to keep it in the federal level. I said, but what if we had some tyrant, because she's a liberal. I said, Republican president who came and was able to clear the seats of any liberal judges and said, ban it outright. And we're all going to do the same thing. I said, so you want to remove it from that type of situation, right? So you can make your decisions. She said, I would vote for you. I was like, thanks. Because calm down. You know what I mean? You're smart enough to figure that out.
Understand
Relax.
what you're talking about. Right.
It's going to be hard, but so that's pretty much it for now. We didn't even get to Project Veritas. It's just so much to talk about. But real quick about Project Veritas, I think that this is a coup that is being staged to get rid of James O'Keefe so that they can start doing more mainstream type of topics that will force more ideology on people. Project Veritas already has a strong name. They worked hard to build their integrity. Whatever people think of it, maybe sometimes they probably made mistakes, but for the most, I remember when New York Magazine was coming at New York Times, whatever, they tried to come at them. They had to retract their story, whatever. I think that they're getting rid of the creator so that they can make the big bucks. That's my theory, but we'll see what happens.
We've all seen this sort of thing before. There's something feels really untoward about it, and again, what do we keep saying? Nothing would surprise me.
Yeah.
This
right. Nothing surprises. And as crazy as it sounds, sometimes I'm at peace with it because you can't get me on that shock level no more. Like, oh
no,
my
I know.
God.
I know.
Yeah,
And you know what? It feels funny though, because I'm running out of outrage at my age. I'm feeling settled. Okay. I made it through what I've made it through. I got to see the peak of Western culture in mid-century America. Okay. Now this is going to be somebody else's problem. Now this just doesn't mean that I'm not heartbroken about it. This is awful. All of it.
yeah.
But I'm not like, I do a lot of shrugging, throw my hands
Yeah.
in the air, where I used to scream and rail about it before. You know what I mean? It's
That's still
everybody
not a
sees
bad
it.
thing.
No,
Like, that's not.
and you know
Yeah.
what?
Like,
Thank you for having me on tonight, because I don't do enough of this. I should do a lot more. I should get my own thing going, for real, and
yeah,
do this. I just don't know where to jump in, Casey. It's a constant stream. You know what I mean?
it is. So just jumping wherever it'll work itself out.
I feel,
mean,
and I really should do this. I should lay down a bunch of videos about principles. Okay, I produce these things, edit them, cut them all up, do the graphics. You know what that all is like before I jump
yeah,
into live streaming. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
yeah, no, there's enough going on every day to sustain a lifetime of this.
There
And all I
is.
ever wanted to do was put on rock shows. I didn't
Right.
want to have to read all this.
But I'm glad that you have all that, because even that they're trying to get, like, look at all these principles and values you got there on your shelves, and they want to get rid of all of it. Like, one
I
day
know.
it'll be a crime one day to have those bookshelves.
Oh, I know.
I feel like
I
it's coming
know.
right away.
You know what? You know what's even more sordid than that? I don't even know what's going to happen. I have like 1,200 books in this room, and there's not a speck of cereal. All right, I don't know what's going to happen to any of this after I'm gone. None of the kids are going to be interested in it. It wouldn't sell for pennies on the pound. It's going to be hard to burn. There's a lot of them. You know?
I,
Who
some
knows? I don't care.
It'll have it has to go somewhere. These things, even though I'm not a reader, but the importance of history, of real history, I'm seeing every day. You know, they digitize everything. Everything's digital. We don't even have pictures and photo albums like we used to when I was a kid in the 80s. You know, everything is digital, so they can change it around however they want to. This girl, she's rewriting her whole history. That's a joke compared to what
Right.
countries. Yeah, like
to me, that was the most interesting feature of that whole story today.
Yeah, like I'll just change
she knows she can do that.
Yep. Look where how we live. So those I value things like those books that you have there, or even how to grow a tomato. I just look at the lifestyle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like so differently. But I'm so happy we were able to do this. Is fun. Like
I agree. Thanks.
The next time we're gonna have wine and and like a charcuterie little, you know, and just shoot the breeze and just laugh at serious things like UFOs, but then the story goes to come down. So, you know,
whatever you want.
Right. So, all right, guys.
Maybe you know what? You should get my wife in here. You two would probably have a ball.
Yeah, yes, I want her to be a part of it too. I'm I'm down. We would, and she could teach me some stuff too, because I keep trying to keep up with a lot of these prophecies, and then I forget some, and then I remember some of that. It's so much, but that book of Daniel,
man, she's eyeballing the whole thing these days, like looking at me like, "Come on,"
because she sees it clearly. She does.
Her father, my boss, the guy I used to work for, my mother used to give me this when I was alive. Here she is.
They can't. They see. And last thing. This is last thing for. I have an uncle who would never turn on the television. He would not turn it on, and he didn't believe in television. And then he used to say, like, because you don't know when they're gonna put you in their rituals, and we shouldn't watch TV. And I used to think he was bat crazy. I was like, it's not that deep. Like, look at the Grammys. Like
right.
I was like, I didn't sign up for this.
This is not my 21st century, believe me. I remember Johnny Carson.
Okay. Dang, or at least in Living Color or something, it was a little something.
Right.
Goodness gracious. Like y'all doing seances in the like, okay. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go.
Love you, Case. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you for coming through. I had a ball, and I'll be connecting with y'all. Tell your wife I said good night, and
yes,
give the cat a hug for me too.
Horrible.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.